Warrior Lore. Chapter 1673. However, that wasn't all. Light rain poured down in all directions as ancient runes condensed, and in the end, they condensed into secret runes. The light rain turned into many life-saving talismans and fell on the people of the School of Agriculture, the Golden Winged Great Pong, the School of Yin Yang, the School of Mo, the Hahuan School, the Ancient Heaven Sect, the Profound Underworld Sect, and the Profound Talisman Sect. A second life-saving talisman appeared between the eyebrows of those who had lost their life-saving talismans. My life-saving talisman. Some people cried out in surprise, while others trembled in joy. Loud cries of joy rang out, causing the sky to tremble. The appearance of this scene had already caused Zhou Xiaoluo, Imo Runin, Fire Cloud Evil God, and the others to be completely moved. Those who had obtained their life-saving talismans were pleasantly surprised. They knew that it was the doing of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Compared to the legalism, the school of vertical and horizontal and the dragons were all terrified. The faces of the heavenly wolf Mo Tianxiao and the heavenly demon Yelu Han were also twitching. Their alliance with Gongsun Wuji hadn't even begun, but their life-saving talismans had already been destroyed. If they had known earlier, they definitely wouldn't have chosen it. However, it was already too late for them to escape. Du Xiaofu already had his eyes on the two of them, and he definitely wouldn't let them go so easily. They could only fight. Qin Wudi, Gongsun Wuji, Long San, and the dragons. The elders of the School of Legalism and the School of Vertical and Horizontal all had extremely gloomy expressions. All three of them had lost their life-saving talismans, while the other side had lost their life-saving talismans. How could they not know what this meant when they fought? If they had known that this would be the result, they definitely wouldn't have chosen to fight here. They had no choice but to consider the consequences. However, it was clearly too late to regret now. In ancient times, there were people who tried to comprehend the life-saving talismans, but even those extremely talented people didn't succeed. Later on, no one dared to try. I think the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, has succeeded. On the square, Zhou Xiaoluo spoke, her eyes glowing. A life-saving talisman. The School of Vertical and Horizontal, the Dragons, and the Legalism have already suffered a crushing defeat. Mo Runin revealed a smile. On the stone platform in the plaza, Moksha's eyes lit up. Are you satisfied with this gift? Du Xiaofu looked at Qin Wudi, Gongsun Wuji, Long San, and the others with a smile that wasn't a smile. His smile was cold, and with a wave of his hand, he said, Dragons, Legalism, School of Vertical and Horizontal, leave no one alive. Following Du Xiaofu's words, Yi Piaoling, General, Du Yunlong, Zhen Xingchun, Master Apothecary, Du Shui, the Silver-Winged Demonic Condor, Mysterious King Jiao, Desolate Gu Jiao, Gue Che, Extinction Sword King, Grand Elder Gong Dao, and the others' eyes flashed with killing intent. The energy in the air above the plaza suddenly surged violently. The light of the world began to darken, and the surroundings began to turn dark. The wind and clouds began to surge. Set up the formation. Zhen Xingchun, Master Apothecary, Silver-Winged Demonic Condor, and the others shouted. Almost as soon as their voices rang out, figures from all over the plaza rose into the air. The disciples of the Barren Nation, Seven Star Hall, Hahuan School, Black Talisman Sect, and Ancient Heaven Sect immediately set up the formation at lightning speed. Terrifying Xian Qi surged, and runes filled the sky, covering the sky and the earth. Rumble. In an instant, the Barren Nation formed a mighty momentum that shook the mountains. The other experts in the plaza who saw this were also trembling. At this moment, the surrounding forces truly felt that the Barren Nation actually had the strength to contend with the dragons, legalism, and School of Vertical and Horizontal among the younger generation. Do you think you can control everything just because you have a life-saving talisman? If you're not strong enough, it doesn't matter how many life-saving talismans you have. In the sky, Gongsun Wuji's face was gloomy. However, at this moment, neither he nor Qin Wudi could return to their original calm appearance. School of Yin Yang, help the Barren Nation. Kill, Qi Yeshi said with a sharp voice. Starlight enveloped his body, and yin and yang circulated. Boom. As soon as Qi Yeshi finished speaking, the disciples of the school of Yinyang, led by Qi family's Jun, stepped out together. Waves of starlight and yin and yang rose, enveloping the sky. School of Imo, help the barren nation, Imo Runen said. Her beautiful figure stepped into the air, and blue light circulated around her body. Imoli, Imo Junyu, and the other experts of the school of Imo immediately soared into the sky. The sky was instantly filled with dense mist that did not disperse. School of Agriculture, help the barren nation. Zhou Xiaolua's voice was soft, and her beautiful figure was graceful. After that beautiful figure, the disciples of the School of Agriculture, led by Jiang Yunfeng and Zhou Yu, rushed into the air. The formless aura caused the earth to rumble. School of Yinyang, School of Agriculture, School of Imo, are you trying to start a war between the 9 families? Qin Wudi shouted. The barren nation had already caused his face to darken. He did not expect that the School of Yinyang, School of Imo, and School of Agriculture would advance and retreat together with the barren nation. School of Yinyang, School of Imo, School of Agriculture, are you trying to start a war between the 9 families? Think about the consequences. It's not something you can bear. Gongsun Wuji shouted sternly. If he was alone, he would not be afraid of the School of Yinyang, School of Yinyang, and School of Agriculture. However, things were different now. At this moment, the addition of any family was enough to make the school of vertical and horizontal face enemies. Even if any extraordinary person joined, it would be the last straw that broke the camel's back. How could Gongsun Wuji and Qin Wudi not understand this logic? So what if the 9 families are fighting? 30 years ago, the School of Vertical and Horizontal and Legalism formed an alliance. Didn't you want to start a war between the 9 families? Now, you're forming an alliance with the dragons. The alliance between the 9 families has long been abandoned by you. It's only a matter of time before a war breaks out. Qi Yeshi said. The sky was filled with starlight, and a vast qi surged. A river of stars began to appear in the sky. School of Yinyang, School of Agriculture, and School of Imo. After the divine domain closes, I'll definitely flatten the 3 of you. Long Sand shouted angrily. Black runes surged and a black dragon coiled around his body. Mixed blood dragon, do you think you can get out of here alive? Flames rose in little Xingxing's eyes. Her small jade-like fist was covered in golden flames. Just as she spoke, she attacked forcefully. Her fist was wrapped in golden flames and directly punched towards Long San. Suddenly, golden flames erupted. A great battle broke out. As little Xingxing attacked, the clouds in all directions moved. Little girl, you're courting death. Long San shouted angrily. Immediately, his figure also attacked little Xingxing. Kill. Leave no one alive. Du Xiaofu stepped out. He wasn't worried about little Xingxing. Waves of golden fluctuations spread out from his body. Suddenly, the surroundings were filled with golden light. It was incomparably domineering. Wind and thunder rumbled. Kill. Behind Du Xiaofu, the disciples of the desolate country, Heavenly Beast Hall, School of Yinyang, School of Imo, and School of Agriculture suddenly soared into the sky and pounced together. As their auras surged, the sky changed color. The dragons, legalism, and School of Vertical and Horizontal had already been killed by Du Xiaofu and the others. They had also lost many of their true experts. At this moment, there were only a little more than 1,000 people. At this moment, the School of Imo, School of Yinyang, School of Yinyang, Desolate Country, and the others added up to more than 4,000 people. Moreover, almost all of these 4,000 people had life-saving talismans to protect themselves. At this moment, the dragons, legalism, and the others who had life-saving talismans had been wiped out. This was already a psychological suppression. Boom! The overwhelming figures and auras filled the sky and shook the 9 heavens. Set up the blazing fire formation. Kill. Gongsun Wuji bellowed. As his voice fell, the members of the School of Vertical and Horizontal behind him stood in unison with cold and solemn expressions. Each of them stood in a mysterious position. The blazing Xian Qi in their bodies surged, and raging flames rolled around them. They quickly formed a vast sea of fire in midair that could burn everything. Heavenly law formation, Qin Wudi shouted. The experts of legalism behind him also quickly gathered. A vast aura swept out and gathered into a terrifying formation that contained the power of legalism. It was vast and mighty. Heavenly dragon formation, Long San, who had already clashed with little Xingxing in an instant, let out a loud roar. Over 100 serpents soared into the sky behind him, transforming into over 100 gigantic serpents. Dragon runes surged out from his body, rapidly condensing into a vast and mighty talisman rune in the sky. The talisman rune shone resplendently, and the dragon's roar did not cease. In the end, it transformed into an incomparably huge dragon with 9 ferocious heads. Amidst the dragon's roar, it caused the void to tremble and the myriad of beasts to howl. Set up the Yin-Yang stellar formation, Qi Yeshi shouted. The experts of the school of Yin-Yang immediately gathered into a formation. The Yin and Yang Qi surged in the surroundings. A river of stars appeared and starlight covered the sky. Ground astral formation. The school of Yin-Yang set up the formation. The mountains surged and the earth rumbled. Wind and clouds surged in the sky. Countless peaks appeared and huge rocks fell from the sky like falling stars. Set up the heavenly machinery, Imo Runin shouted. From the school of Imo, a colossal object suddenly appeared. It was thousands of feet tall and stood in the vast square. It was incomparably huge. It was a giant that looked like a machine. In the mechanical giant, there were hundreds of disciples of the school of Imo controlling it with their Xian Qi. The terrifying aura emitted from the mechanical giant was even more powerful than any of the school of Yin-Yang stellar formations. When the mechanical giant appeared, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but look at it in shock. It was rumored that the ancestor of the school of Imo was the ancestor of machines. He used special machines that contained the power of the 5 Daos and the heavens and earth. It had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. The rumor was true. Chapter 1674. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio Du Tingxian vs. Gongsun Wuji Rumble. In just a short moment, these great clans directly attacked each other. Each of their combined attacks carried a destructive power as they fiercely charged at each other, causing the space along the way to explode. The sea of fire boiled, burning everything. Starlight filled the sky as the stars rotated. The yin and yang energies turned into sharp swords that cut through the void. A vast power swept out, shattering everything. The roars of the 9 giant dragons shook the sky. The mechanical giant could tear the void apart. There were also mountains crashing and boulders falling. All of these collided together, causing the entire void to shatter, but it quickly recovered. There was a mighty force in the divine domain that was difficult to destroy. In just a moment, the battle had already erupted. All the attacks swept out, and the energy ripples shattered the void, causing the living beings on the square below to tremble in fear. Roar! Little Xingxing's fist shattered the black dragon's shadow. Long San roared and directly activated his true body. It was a 1,000 feet long black dragon. The dragon's scales were covered with mysterious runes like black flames. The 6 divine rings above his head channeled the mighty force of heaven and earth. Long San was a supreme Nirvana realm expert who had stepped into the Nirvana realm. How powerful was he? A mixed blood dragon will always be a mixed blood dragon. Little Xingxing was not afraid. His eyes were filled with golden flames, erupting with dazzling golden light. His body suddenly expanded, turning into a huge dragon hovering in the sky. He spread his wings like a phoenix's wings, spreading blazing red and purple flames. Starlight flowed on the surface of his body. There was also the aura of a golden-winged rock and a terrifying supreme aura sweeping across the sky. Roar! The dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens. When little Xingxing turned into his true body, all the demonic beasts, including the 9 giant dragons, trembled. The Hui Dragon King and other ancient demonic beasts in the divine domain also went limp. Little Supreme Nirvana Mixed Blood Dragon, suppress. Little Xingxing's body soared into the sky. Immediately, 9 divine rings of divine fire covered his head. They were filled with a heavenly might. Golden flames filled his golden dragon eyes. It was as though they contained two vast golden seas of fire. A frightening, strange, and complicated pressure descended from his body. That little girl is also a supreme Nirvana realm expert. Many exclamations of surprise sounded out from below. That little girl was actually a grand exalt of rebirth, and this was sufficient to cause everyone to be shocked. I don't like you, so I'll take you. Du Xiaoyao's figure flashed across the sky. He stared at the Mirage Dragon King. Brat, you're courting death. The Sea Serpent King bellowed. He was the strongest king in the divine domain and had never been provoked before. Even Long San had to show him some respect. In an instant, the Sea Serpent King's reverse-scale armor glowed. The dragon shadow rippled and turned into a 1,000-foot-long sea serpent dragon. Its scales were all reversed, and its terrifying aura swept through the void. Do you think that you are the only ones who can achieve nirvana? Don't forget, the divine domain is a paradise. I can achieve nirvana as well. None of you are my match. When the dragon-like roar sounded, 6 divine halos appeared above the sea serpent's head. With the addition of heavenly might, its might skyrocketed. He's probably only half a step away from nirvana of liberation. A sea serpent dragon at the half nirvana of liberation level. On the stone platform below, Lin Qingrong's eyes glowed like snowflakes. The Sea Serpent King's aura made even him wary. It was a terrifying sea serpent dragon that had already stepped into nirvana of liberation level. It's just a mixed blood dragon. Du Xiaoyao stared at the 1,000-foot-long sea serpent dragon. Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted from his body. A dazzling golden light exploded like the sun. It was as if a terrifying lord had been born. The terrifying aura filled the sky and turned into a crystalline giant golden ape. Mysterious runes surged around it, causing the surrounding space to ripple violently. Roar! The ape roared. Multicolored light flowed around it. It was born with spiritual eyes that overlooked everything in the world. 9 divine halos appeared above its head. Its identity as a grand exalt of nirvana was obvious. Its mighty aura was at the nirvana of truth level. Oh my god, it's a redbone horse ape. It's not just a redbone horse ape. It's a grand exalt of nirvana realm redbone horse ape. How many grand exalts does the desolate country have? How can they let others live? A redbone horse ape is already terrifying enough. It's a grand exalt of nirvana realm redbone horse ape. It's too terrifying. The living beings on the square below were completely horrified. They all gasped and felt their throats dry up. They swallowed their saliva. Another grand exalt of nirvana realm redbone horse ape had appeared in the desolate country. It was as if they didn't want others to live. Looking at the redbone horse ape before him, the Sea Serpent King's eyes trembled violently. Evil creature, I'll kill you. Du Xiaoyao's 1,000-foot-long redbone horse-ape body soared into the sky. He suddenly punched out with a blurry light. It was as if heaven and earth had just been created. The space before his fist became blurry and distorted. A terrifying aura erupted with an inexplicable pressure that could cause one's primordial spirit to explode. This kind of power could sweep across the area and suppress everything. Roar! The Sea Serpent King roared and immediately clashed with Du Xiaoyao. Whoosh! Dongli Qingqing attacked. Green light surged from her slender figure. Her palm print devoured life force as it slammed toward the heavenly wolf lonely sky howl. Heavenly fiend, we meet again. The voice was clear and melodious as strands of mysterious glowing talisman markings surged over, and then a graceful and beautiful figure's clothes fluttered as she descended. The multicolored light around her body was like stars that revolved and fluctuated, and her slender and tall, delicate figure rose and fell exquisitely. Her eyebrows were curved, and her eyes were resplendent like the starry sky. Yin and Yang Qi flowed around her. Countless rays of light surged like falling stars, sweeping toward the heavenly fiend Yeluhan. She was Qi Yeshi. She had fought with the heavenly fiend Heavenly Wolf before. Now, she was attacking again. Heavenly fiend Yeluhan. At the same time, several figures flew over. Sumushin, Jialo Jueyu, and Jialo Kaling flew over and surrounded the heavenly fiend Yeluhan. Jialo Jueyu and Jialo Kaling had also attacked the heavenly fiend Yeluhan before. They knew how strong the heavenly fiend Yeluhan was, so they immediately transformed into their great golden-winged rocks and used their supreme powers. Roar! Sumushin wasn't careless. She knew how strong the heavenly fiend Yeluhan was. She activated the En Kuan Tiger Taming Art. The aura of a half-step Supreme Nirvana swirled around her. A white tiger appeared in the sky, tearing apart space. Bastard! The heavenly fiend Yeluhan's face was ashen. He was surrounded by several Supreme Nirvana realm experts. Although he wasn't worried at all if he faced them alone, he didn't dare to be careless. However, he wasn't afraid. He attacked with all his strength. The Blood Sea Meridian Soul appeared in the sky. Baleful aura surged as he used his supreme powers. Yeluhan was fighting against 4 Supreme Nirvana realm experts by himself. He wasn't at a disadvantage at all. Instead, he had the upper hand. How powerful was he? Kill! Yi Piaoling and the other 18 celestial guards rushed out. Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, and the others also launched their attacks. Sima Muhan, Dai Xingyu, Jin Qingchun, and the others glanced around and went to find their own opponents. Ouyang Shuang, Yizi Jin, Du Yu, Du Shui, the silver-winged demonic condor, Gue Che, and the Zither Devil had also attacked from the sky. Rumble. The joint attack formation collided. The battle shook the heavens and earth. Ferocious attacks covered the sky and earth. In an instant, there were people screaming in agony. Blood was spilled everywhere. Qin Wudi is very strong. In the sky, Du Tingxian stared at Gongsun Wuji and said to Du Xiaofu beside him, Gongsun Wuji isn't weak either. Du Xiaofu said. His gaze was fixed on Qin Wudi. As soon as they finished speaking, their eyes met and they both smiled faintly. In the sky, Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji looked around with dark gazes. Their expressions were extremely unsightly. Whether it was in terms of aura or strength, the school of legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal were no match for them. Boom! Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji's aura surged. Dazzling runes surged, and the surrounding void began to crack. The heavens and earth trembled violently. The immovable plaza below was also shaking. They were angry and wanted to attack with all their might. Qi. At this moment, Du Tingxian stepped into the void. As the void rippled, his figure turned into lightning. A thunderous roar resounded. Gongsun Wuji, your opponent is me. Du Tingxian, you'll have to fight eventually. I'll deal with you first. Gongsun Wuji bellowed. The flames on his body roared. With a wave of his hand, the flames soared into the sky and rushed towards Du Tingxian. The scorching heat that could incinerate all things spread out. Brilliant fire talisman runes interweaved in all directions. Boom! Du Tingxian made his move. Instead of retreating, he advanced. His body was instantly surrounded by boundless lightning. Lightning runes erupted as he rushed forward. That was the power of unparalleled lightning. It turned into a sea of lightning. Lightning filled the sky and enveloped the surroundings, sweeping away the scorching flames. The two instantly exchanged blows. Their figures swept into the distant void. Neither of them wanted to affect the surroundings. With their strength, the aftermath would be a nightmare for the disciples of the major forces. Qin Wudi, we should continue. As Du Tingxuan's figure swept out, Du Xiaofu's figure rippled in golden light and appeared in front of Qin Wudi in an instant. I'll kill you first, you little bastard. Qin Wudi stared at Du Xiaofu. His eyes were filled with killing intent. In his mind, as long as he killed Du Xiaofu, the Yinyang School, School of Agriculture, and School of Emo would retreat. At that time, the desolate country would be leaderless, and the crisis would be resolved. Moreover, this little bastard in front of him was about to grow his wings. He had to be killed. Chapter 1675. Boom! Qin Wudi immediately made his move. The previous exchange allowed him to know the strength of the kid in front of him. He was already using his full strength. As the most outstanding genius of the school of legalism, Qin Wudi was in control of all the supreme techniques and methods of the school of legalism. Countless mysterious runes surged out, connecting with the heaven and earth, drawing the power of the world from the divine realm for his own use. One had to admit that Qin Wudi was definitely a genius. 30 years ago, he was already unrivaled among his peers. He was one of the 3 strongest geniuses in thousands of years. He was incomparably powerful. Otherwise, how could he look down on his peers? Rumble, gathering the power of heaven and earth. Qin Wudi's body surged with divine light like a miracle. His nirvana realm cultivation swept out without holding back. In an instant, just as Qin Wudi opened his eyes, a shocking beam of light swept out like lightning. It was as if it could illuminate the void and see through the past and present. Starting from Qin Wudi's surroundings, ferocious beasts spread their wings and soared into the sky. There were dragon shadows and fierce tigers roaring. The heaven and earth collapsed, the void was sinking, and the mountains and rivers were surging. It turned into a shocking phenomenon of heaven and earth. It's legalism's law Dao power. Qin Wudi is using his full strength. Qin Wudi was already at a disadvantage before. Now he's going to use his full strength. Someone in the square below exclaimed. Zhou Xiaoluo, Mo Runin, and the others who couldn't find an opponent to attack were also shocked. Mo Runin and Zhou Xiaoluo didn't attack because they couldn't find an equal opponent. With their status, they disdained to attack ordinary people. Moreover, the desolate country, school of Yinyang, school of Mo, and school of agriculture had the upper hand in the entire battlefield. With the protection of the life-saving talisman, there was no danger at all. The purple flame demonic phoenix also didn't attack. She watched the fight between little Xingxing and Long San from the side. She came with the Phoenix clan. Her every action represented the choice of the Phoenix clan. She could help alone, but she needed to be careful in this kind of chaotic battle. More importantly, it seemed that she didn't need to attack. The desolate country didn't fall into a disadvantage and held the advantage. On the other hand, the woman with the surnames Su, Big Lawn, and Little Lawn, who had been following Du Xiaofu all this while, had also joined the crowd that was attacking the school of legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal. In the distant void, Du Xiaojing hadn't made a move either. She had been watching the battle between Qin Wudi and Du Xiaofu. Her delicate hands were clenched into fists under her long sleeves. She was trembling inwardly as a divine light flashed in her eyes. In the sky, Qin Wudi exploded. Du Xiaofu was enveloped by the heaven and earth anomaly. The pressure was so powerful that it could crush everything. However, Du Xiaofu was not afraid. Both of his eyes were filled with purple lightning. His silhouette soared into the sky and leaped towards Qin Wudi. Even in the face of the heaven and earth, he was fearless. The heavenly Tao is far, but the human Tao is far. Qin Wudi shouted in a deep voice. His aura was incomparably majestic, as if he was looking down from above. The vision of heaven and earth instantly enveloped Du Xiaofu. When the last word was spoken, he waved his hand and turned it into a thunderous fingerprint that swept out. This finger was condensed from the Tao of legalism. It was a combination of the heaven and earth anomaly. The heaven and earth anomaly were boundless. Qi-la, as the finger imprint flashed past, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Only the finger imprint was left. It was dazzling and blazing, and it carried with it a destructive force that seemed like it was formed by nature. Everywhere it passed, the void turned into nothingness, and cracks appeared in the space. This fingerprint was enough to make anyone who saw it tremble with fear, their hair standing on end. The terrifying pressure and energy caused all living beings to tremble in fear. Anyone who came in contact with it would most likely be annihilated on the spot. Du Xiaofu's body was covered with purple lightning. He stared at the finger of destruction. At this moment, there was no way he could avoid it. This finger condensed the heaven and earth anomaly. There was no way he could avoid it. Do you think you are the heavens? Break your grandmother's bear. With a thunderous shout, Du Xiaofu made his move. His figure continued to move as fast as lightning. He raised his arm and punched towards the finger. This was a direct confrontation, a forceful clash. In the next instant, the fingerprint swept into Du Xiaofu's fist and disappeared. Roar. Du Xiaofu's fist carried the sound of a dragon's roar and an elephant's cry. Accompanied by the power of thunder, it also heavily bombarded Qin Wudi's chest, who was also unable to dodge. Bang! Qin Wudi's chest exploded. the runes shattered. The heaven and earth anomaly trembled. A mouthful of blood immediately spilled out from his mouth. Bang, bang, bang. But at the same time, Du Xiaofu's right palm, starting from his palm all the way to his arm, suddenly shattered inch by inch, turning into a bloody mist. The sleeve of his battle robe turned into ashes, and his right arm turned into a bloody mist as well. Rock Chaos Shattering Claw. His right arm shattered inch by inch, but Du Xiaofu did not retreat. He was completely fearless. He stomped his feet and stabilized his body in the air. His black hair was scattered, and his eyes were suffused with a purple-gold color. He stared at Qin Wudi from a short distance and waved his left arm. Golden light overflowed, and a rock screeched. A claw grabbed at Qin Wudi from a short distance. That terrifying supreme beast energy caused the void to shatter. Courting death, Qin Wudi shouted and immediately reacted. He emitted an invincible aura as he coldly stared at Du Xiaofu. He raised his hand and clenched it into a fist. Carrying the heaven and earth anomaly, he directly punched towards Du Xiaofu's claw. Bang! The sudden collision was as fast as lightning. It emitted a resplendent light that illuminated the turbulent void. In that instant, the two individual surroundings collapsed, the radiance shattered, making all of the creatures who were fighting in the distant skies shiver inwardly, greatly affected. Ka-ka! Qin Wudi's fist cracked under the claw, revealing blood. It was difficult to heal, and blood once again flowed out of his mouth. However, Du Xiaofu's claw once again crumbled inch by inch under Qin Wudi's heaven and earth momentum amidst the endless bang-bang sounds. It broke off at the shoulder and turned into a bloody mist. Dang-dang! The void surged, and the two of them retreated at the same time. Jejia, brat, you are no longer my opponent. Qin Wudi wiped the blood from his mouth. Although he was injured again, he was incomparably happy. Compared to that little bastard, his injuries were only minor. What makes you think you can fight me again? Qin Wudi's laughter was like thunder. That little bastard had lost both his arms. How could he fight him again? Both of his arms crumbled inch by inch. That was a heavy injury. Even if he had the chance to find those elixirs after leaving this place, it would be useless. His bones were shattered, and there was no way to recover them. Those legendary elixirs would not be able to recover. Not good. This scene caused many people to cry out in alarm. They saw that Du Xiaofu's arms were broken. He was seriously injured. Mo Runan, Zhou Xiaoluo, and the others frowned. Su Muxin, Qi Yeshi, Dai Xingyu, and the others who were in the midst of the fierce battle also frowned. Brother, Du Xiaojing's eyes were trembling. Divine light surged in her eyes, and she was about to fly away. Suddenly, Du Xiaojing stopped and looked at Du Xiaofu's broken arms. She felt something, and strange purple electric arcs gushed out from there. Is this all you've got? Du Xiaofu spoke. Both of his arms were broken, but at this moment, there was a faint sneer on his face. Then, under countless horrified gazes, the bloody mist in the surroundings did not disperse, but gathered again. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, purple electric arcs rippled on Du Xiaofu's severed shoulders. Walala! Then, under everyone's trembling gazes, Du Xiaofu's broken arms recovered perfectly. His bare arms were emitting a purple-gold color, and electric arcs were fluctuating. How could this be? Someone exclaimed. Zhou Xiaoluo, Mo Runan, and the others were shocked. How could his broken arms recover like this? It was shocking. On the stone platform in the square, Moksha raised his head and looked at Du Xiaofu's recovered arms. Only he was not moved. Continue. After his broken arms recovered, Du Xiaofu did not stop. The thunder martial vein in his body was activated, and the chi of execution spread out. It was not austere, but it showed the majesty of creation. It showed the righteousness of heaven and earth. In the vast sky, it carried the power to punish all living things and directly pounced on Qin Wudi. In the midst of the shock, Qin Wudi attacked again. Dazzling runes gushed out, and violent energy poured out from his body. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, twisting the void of this side of the world as if he was controlling the world. Buzz! From high up in the sky, the vision of heaven and earth rotated, turning the world upside down and turning into a resplendent saber. The saber slashed the space with unparalleled power, and a terrifying power descended from the 9 heavens, directly slashing towards Du Xiaofu. Invincible great momentum slash. Qin Wudi shouted loudly. This slash was accompanied by a vision of heaven and earth. The space around the saber was filled with pitch-black cracks, revealing a heart-palpitating pitch-black light. It caused the sky to collapse and the void to explode, emitting a dazzling light. Invincible great momentum slash. This is Qin Wudi's invincible skill 30 years ago. It is enough to kill opponents of a higher realm and sweep away those of the same generation. No one can be his opponent. The old and middle-aged people in the crowd below could not help but exclaim in shock. Qin Wudi's invincible great momentum slash was enough to destroy everything. It revealed a terrifying power of heaven and earth. Chapter 1676. Swish. The blade aura fell and cut through the void, coming down directly from Du Xiaofu's shoulder. Boom! With a loud sound, Du Xiaofu's fist landed on Qin Wudi's chest. Purple gold lightning surged out from his fist and swept across the sky. The surrounding electric arcs scattered, and the purple gold electric arcs intertwined with each other. The power was unbelievable. Ka-ka. Under the power of the life executioner, Qin Wudi's chest defense was shattered. His chest cracked, and blood gushed out. That was the blood of a sovereign. It was condensed and filled with astonishing power. White bones and flesh could be seen in the void. It was a shocking sight. However, Qin Wudi wasn't dead. He wouldn't be killed so easily. Blood gushed out from his mouth as he looked at Du Xiaofu with a cruel sneer. Ka-ka. Under Qin Wudi's gaze, a saber light shot out from Du Xiaofu's body, starting from his shoulder. He was cut open by the saber and then turned into a bloody mist under countless gazes. Bang bang! Du Xiaofu's body exploded, turning into a bloody mist in the void. At this moment, as Du Xiaofu activated his thunder martial vein, lightning began to fluctuate in Du Xiaojing's body. It was as if something was about to burst out. Divine light fluctuated, and his hair danced in the wind. At this moment, Du Xiaojing's blood was boiling. His internal organs, bones, muscles, and marrow seemed to be awakening and wanting to burst out. However, not many people noticed this. Kiki, you're still not dead? Little bastard, you're still not my opponent. Qin Wudi's hair was disheveled, and his chest was covered in blood. His anger was filled with malevolence and cruelty. His ear-piercing voice echoed in the void. You think you can kill me? At the same time as Qin Wudi's ear-piercing voice rang out, Du Xiaofu's voice rang out from within the blood mist that did not dissipate. Within the blood mist, a ray of light soared into the sky, and in an instant, purple electric arcs overflowed. Under the dumbfounded gazes of the crowd, and before Qi Yeshi, Sumu Xin, and the others could even react, Du Xiaofu's figure condensed once again from the blood mist. In an instant, he turned into a bolt of purple lightning and directly charged at the terrified Qin Wudi. He fiercely punched out, hitting Qin Wudi's shattered chest. This was too sudden, causing Qin Wudi to be completely horrified. He didn't have time to react. However, Qin Wudi was not a weakling. In his shock, he instinctively dodged. Qi. It was just that Qin Wudi managed to avoid his chest, but Du Xiaofu's punch was too fast and landed on his shoulder. Boom! With a loud bang, the resplendent purple gold lightning swept across the sky, and Qin Wudi was sent flying. Under the power of the execution of all lives, Qin Wudi's shoulder cracked, his bones broke, and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. As the number 1 person of the previous generation of legalism, and even one of the 3 strongest people in tens of thousands of years, at this moment, Qin Wudi was sent flying in front of everyone's eyes. His hair was covered in purple gold electric arcs, and electric arcs crackled on his body. This was the aftermath of Du Xiaofu's punch. Puchi, Qin Wudi vomited blood again. His injuries were already very serious, but what made Qin Wudi even more serious was the fear and shock in his heart. Staring at Du Xiaofu from afar, Qin Wudi felt as if he had seen a ghost. He was completely unable to accept the scene in front of him. In midair, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. The purple robe on his body had been shattered by the blade and could only barely cover his body. However, his body had recovered to its original state. It was sparkling and translucent with a purple-gold color, emitting an unparalleled feeling of power. Oh my God, what kind of body is this? It can't be killed. It was clearly shattered, but his body can recover again. This is too terrifying. Qin Wudi's invincible momentum couldn't shatter his body. Is the Demon King Du Xiaofu still a human? The living beings in this square began to boil violently. Their eyes were trembling, and they were in disbelief. In the distant void, at this moment, Gongsun Wuji and Du Tingshuan's battle was not inferior to that of Du Xiaofu and Qin Wudi at all. Raging flames surged in the sky, and the flames swept across like lava. Lightning constantly exploded, and it was incomparably chaotic and intense. However, Du Xiaofu's shock attracted almost everyone's attention. At this moment, Gongsun Wuji, who was fighting with Du Tingxian in the distant sky, also saw the inconceivable scene on Du Xiaofu's body from the corner of his eyes. He was also shocked, and this shock even affected his strength greatly. This is impossible. It's definitely impossible. Qin Wudi shook his head. He was unwilling to believe what he had seen. He had clearly shattered the person. So how could he be unharmed in an instant? Are you in despair? With your strength, even if I don't fight back, you can't kill me. The number one person of legalism 30 years ago is really weak. Du Xiaofu soared into the sky and walked towards Qin Wudi step by step. In the void, Qin Wudi's thunder martial vein was covered in Qin Wudi's magic power, and he ran amok. Du Xiaofu's hatred for legalism couldn't be resolved. At this moment, he wanted to use the most powerful method to kill Qin Wudi. It was as if he wanted to destroy everything that legalism was proud of in front of everyone. Du Xiaofu wanted to take revenge for what legalism had done to him 100 times over. This was his anger, and also the price that legalism had to pay. No, there's no one in this world that can't be killed. It's just an evil technique, Qin Wudi said coldly with a sinister expression. He formed a seal with his hand and activated his vain spirit. Amidst the resplendent, mysterious runes, a dark, penetrating grass appeared. His vain spirit was a dark, penetrating grass that came from legalism's elder Ming. In an instant, the dark, penetrating grass was released. It could purify all evil and purify the world. A vast and mighty pressure permeated through the void. Vain spirit. As Du Xiaofu's cold voice fell, a silver-gold lightning arc shot out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, it released a violent and destructive pressure. A red-bone horse monkey roared and rushed out. Ayo! A true supreme pressure suddenly descended. The red-bone horse monkey rushed out, bringing along silver-gold lightning that filled the sky. This was Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, the red-bone horse monkey. It contained the vain spirit, 3 types of spiritual lightning, and the mysterious aura of the spiritual root. This kind of vain spirit, it was impossible to find a second one in this world. When the red-bone horse monkey appeared, it was accompanied by the supreme pressure. Countless silver-gold lightning filled the air and poured down in all directions, resplendent in the sky. Rumble, when the red-bone horse monkey appeared in the void, it suddenly shocked everyone. Thunder rumbled in all directions, as if it was going to destroy the world. At this moment, Moksha's eyes also rippled. He was even more shocked than when he saw Du Xiaofu's immortal Shin body. Is that Du Xiaofu's vain spirit? The red-bone horse monkey, it seems to contain the aura of spiritual lightning. The gazes of the people in the square below were all trembling. Ayo! The red-bone horse monkey made its move. Amidst the lightning and thunder, it exploded with mysterious runes that directly traversed the void. The silver-gold lightning spread out, making people feel as if they were facing a true supreme that could not be resisted. Then, under everyone's stunned gazes, a shocking scene appeared in the sky. Qin Wudi activated the profound insight grass vein spirit, and the red-bone horse monkey directly stuffed it into its mouth and swallowed it. Then, it turned into a silver-gold lightning arc and disappeared between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows. How shocking was that? Qin Wudi spat out blood again and again. His eyes were filled with horror. A terrifying power surged out from his body. Golden light overflowed and dragon roars sounded out. It turned into a giant golden dragon that was condensed from the imperial palace's dragon chi. Ao! The golden dragon's shadow roared ferociously. It made people feel a majestic aura crushing down, wanting to make people crawl. This golden dragon's shadow had an indescribable pressure. It was connected to the four symbols and pulled in all directions, causing the Xin Qi in people to stagnate. When Qin Wudi was 5 years old, he concealed his identity and became the human emperor in the outside world. He obtained the imperial palace's dragon qi collected by legalism to nourish his body and forge the foundation of his soul. This is one of Qin Wudi's greatest reliance. An old man who understood Qin Wudi spoke. The imperial palace's dragon qi is gathered from the dragon veins. The monarch of the mortal world has the protection of the imperial palace's dragon qi and can cultivate the emperor's law, not to mention an existence like Qin Wudi. With the imperial palace's dragon qi protecting him, he is like a tiger that has grown wings. On the square, an old man sighed. Even if it was the dragons, phoenixes, and the people of the 9 great clans, only the most talented people could truly obtain the imperial palace's dragon qi. Ordinary disciples could only use the imperial palace's dragon qi to temper themselves. As for Qin Wudi, he was an existence that directly obtained the imperial palace's dragon qi. Moreover, he obtained the imperial palace's dragon qi collected by legalism. The benefits could be imagined. Only an existence like Qin Wudi was worthy of the imperial palace's dragon qi that legalism spent so much effort to collect. Ao! Qin Wudi activated the imperial palace's dragon qi and turned it into a golden dragon. The dragon's roar shook the clouds and distorted the void. It seemed to contain the power of eternity. The momentum was earth-shattering as it swept towards Du Xiaofu. The terrifying imperial palace's dragon qi made people feel uneasy. The imperial palace's dragon qi carried the momentum of heaven and earth. It had nothing to do with one's strength. The misty imperial palace's dragon qi surged with endless auspicious light. The terrifying golden dragon's roar rumbled as it covered the sky and shattered the void. In an instant, it suppressed Du Xiaofu. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu slightly raised his head and looked at the roaring golden dragon's shadow. He did not dodge or retreat. Instead, he advanced and strode forward. As Du Xiaofu strode forward, a golden light swept out from his body. A mysterious and mighty force swept through the surrounding space, making him incomparably domineering and looking down on all directions. Facing the imperial palace's dragon qi, Du Xiaofu was not afraid. At this moment, Du Xiaofu inexplicably felt that he was not afraid of the golden dragon's shadow at all. Du Xiaofu clearly remembered that after comprehending the 8 trigrams diagram, that mysterious feeling appeared more and more obvious. Chapter 1677. Roar. In an instant, that ferocious golden dragon swept in front of Du Xiaofu. That ferocious dragon head was like a small star standing in front of Du Xiaofu. A terrifying aura swept in all directions and rushed into the sky. However, it was also at this moment that the ferocious and roaring golden dragon suddenly revealed a look of fear as it looked at Du Xiaofu. In the end, it actually prostrated itself before Du Xiaofu under the stunned gazes of everyone present. Du Xiaofu stepped into the air, crossing the void with a single step before landing on top of the golden dragon's head without moving an inch. Impact. Around Du Xiaofu's body, there was an indescribable mighty force that swept and spread out. This mighty force far surpassed the imperial palace's dragon qi and came from the depths of heaven and earth. This mighty force's aura was sharper than that of a heaven's pride and gentler than that of a supreme being. But compared to a heaven's pride and a supreme being, its aura was not inferior at all. Heavens, what's going on? The gazes of the entire square trembled. The golden dragon formed by Qin Wudi's imperial palace's dragon qi was actually crawling in front of Du Xiaofu at this moment. The imperial palace's dragon qi gathered the power of heaven and earth. Not to mention mortals, even those with heavenly cultivation would be suppressed and have to revere it. Even the experts of the 9 great clans would not dare to be arrogant when facing those human emperors in the imperial palace. Only a supreme being could be compared to the imperial palace's dragon chi. But a nirvana supreme being was not a true supreme being. It was just a nirvana supreme being. They were walking on the path of becoming a supreme being. For example, all kinds of dragons, mixed blood dragons, and even the current dragons. Although they were dragons, they were not true dragons. They were only walking on the path of true dragons and had the opportunity to transform into true dragons. Rumor has it that the imperial palace's dragon chi is the most hierarchical. It comes from heaven and earth and is also controlled by heaven and earth. In front of gods, sages, and supreme beings, it will submit. Could it be that this demon king Du Xiaofu is a true supreme being? Or is he a god or a sage? In the square, many old people's eyes trembled as they recalled some ancient legends. A god descending is impossible. That's just a legend. It's also impossible for a sage. Rumor has it that after the 100 schools of thought, no more sages were born, and after so many years, only ancient 9 great clans remained. An old woman spoke while trembling. Supreme being, could be, Du Xiaofu is a true supreme being? Someone's eyes. Could it be that the demon was a true supreme being, a supreme being? Even Zhou Xiaolu, Emo, and Lien, Li of Li and of the. At this moment, Qin Wudi was even more shocked. He realized that the imperial palace's dragon chi that he had activated was completely suppressed by the terrifying chi on Du Xiaofu's body. Nirvanas, dragons, dragon xiaos. Dragons of the dragon, Du. Swallow. There was a smile in Du Xiaofu's eyes. He opened his mouth and took a deep breath. The talisman runes in his mouth glowed brightly, and the densely packed hair on his body seemed to have come alive. Everything formed a huge, devouring force, and directly devoured the imperial palace's dragon aura that covered the sky and earth into his body. Qin Wudi's face twitched. The dragon chi was collected by legalism for tens of thousands of years. It was much more valuable than a saint weapon, but he didn't expect that the dragon chi would be swallowed by Du Xiaofu. More importantly, he found that he couldn't even stop it. Little bastard, I'll never let you go. The cold yell was ear-piercing. Above Qin Wudi's head, 9 divine rings appeared. Unparalleled heavenly might surged, and divine light surged. Even the blood on his shoulder and chest were slowly recovering. Qin Wudi is also a Nirvana Grand Supreme Being, someone exclaimed. However, after seeing several Nirvana Grand Supreme Beings, the living beings present were used to it and weren't too shocked. However, the living beings in the surroundings were all resisting the terrifying pressure with all their might. No wonder legalism gave up on the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. They have Qin Wudi, so they are naturally more at ease than the Demon King. Rumor has it that there's a hidden person in legalism who is protected by legalism. He's even regarded as the hope to surpass Qin Wudi. Among the crowd in the square, there were Taoist and Confucian old men whispering, "Little bastard, Nirvana Grand Supreme Being? I stepped into it 25 years ago. You're still too young." Qin Wudi stepped into the air. At this moment, it was as if he was crossing time and space. 9 divine rings appeared in the sky, and the sound of the heavens resounded. It was like thousands of thunderbolts, clanging and shaking the 9 heavens. Golden light descended from the sky, and a mysterious force seeped out from the heavens and earth. In the end, it gathered and enveloped Qin Wudi's body, suppressing all living beings. He was a Nirvana Grand Supreme Being. Until now, legalism had been hiding, and no news had been leaked. It was all for the sake of waiting for the last opening of the divine domain. Qin Wudi had never thought that he would need to use the full strength of a Grand Supreme Being to deal with a junior, and this little bastard in front of him. However, at this moment, he knew that he could only use his full strength to kill this kid whose wings were gradually growing. Nirvana Grand Supreme Being. Huh? Du Xiaofu looked at Qin Wudi, and 9 divine rings appeared in the sky above his head. Rumble. In an instant, the sound of the heavens resounded in the surrounding space. The terrifying pressure caused the world to rumble, as if countless heavenly drums were beating at the same time. It shook the hearts of all living beings, and they were all stunned. At this moment, everyone could clearly see that the 9 divine rings above Du Xiaofu's head were even more dazzling than the 9 divine rings above Qin Wudi's head. However, at this moment, when Du Xiaofu also used the power of a grand supreme being, the pressure of 2 grand supreme beings descended, and all the living beings in the square prostrated themselves in fear. Kill. Qin Wudi opened his eyes, and the divine light tore through the void. The 2 of them had already reached the final step, and their figures soared into the sky. Kill. Du Xiaofu shouted and soared into the sky. With a wave of his hand, a large amount of purple gold lightning swept out. It was as if 10,000 thunders were roaring at the same time, clanging and shaking the 9 heavens. At this moment, the 2 of them used the power of a grand supreme being, causing the people below to be unable to take their eyes off of them. They were dazzled, and their minds were trembling. Heavenly Tao, Human Tao, Supreme Dharma Idol. Qin Wudi punched out, and the heaven and earth trembled. It carried the power of a grand supreme being, and it could make the sky and earth spin. Du Xiaofu's incarnation, purple gold lightning wreaked havoc, and the power of a grand supreme being surged. It turned into a purple gold thunder rock that stood in the void. It flapped its wings and soared into the sky, causing the void to explode. Rumble. The sky rumbled, and the void sank. The huge purple gold thunder rock was shattered inch by inch in front of Qin Wudi. That terrifying power made the people below want to kneel down and worship it. However, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in front of Qin Wudi, and the purple gold claw grabbed Qin Wudi's right shoulder. He fiercely exerted force, and the power of a grand supreme being surged, destroying the defense and tearing off the shoulder. Immediately, a rain of blood spurted out. "Little bastard, die!" Qin Wudi shouted in a cold and ear-piercing voice. He spat out blood from his mouth, and his face was ferocious. In a flash, his right fist carried the power of a grand supreme being and directly smashed onto Du Xiaofu's head. Boom! This fist shook the 9 heavens, and it contained the power of a grand supreme being. Legalism's supreme secret technique was used. Qin Wudi would rather have one of his arms severed to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Du Xiaofu. And the reality was just as Qin Wudi expected. His full-strength attack shattered the space, and also shattered Du Xiaofu's head, turning Du Xiaofu's head into a mist of blood. "Jejia, you're still not dead? Little bastard, can you still live?" Inside the drama, Qin Wudi laughed with bright red blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. His broken arm was bleeding profusely. His smile was sinister and cruel as he loudly said, "Fourth sister, I killed your son. This is what you owe me. This is what you owe the school of legalism." Chi. Suddenly, a strange lotus flower spun out from Du Xiaofu's shattered head. On top of this strange lotus flower, a red-bone horse-ape appeared. Silver gold lightning overflowed, and a special rune light appeared in its eyes. This kind of rune light instantly made Qin Wudi's eyes turn sluggish. Then, under Qin Wudi's sluggish gaze, he saw Du Xiaofu's head, which was shattered by him, instantly recover in a flash. Purple gold lightning fluctuated, and it recovered to its original state. Du Xiaofu attacked at the same time, and his fist landed on Qin Wudi's right shoulder, who was still struggling sluggishly. Boom! The Grand Supreme Being's power erupted, and purple gold lightning bloomed. The overbearing aura was incomparable. Bang! In an instant, Qin Wudi's shoulder, which was still struggling, exploded. Du Xiaofu's fist directly exploded Qin Wudi's shoulder, and his arm exploded. His shoulder was badly mutilated, and white bones could be seen. His hair was dyed red with blood. "Ah!" Qin Wudi screamed. Finally, his eyes were no longer sluggish, but it was too late. He couldn't be like Du Xiaofu, whose body was indestructible. Both of his arms were severed, and blood flowed endlessly. The intense pain made Qin Wudi scream uncontrollably. The most important thing was the shock and despair in his heart. Even his head was shattered, but Du Xiaofu was still able to recover, as if he had an immortal body. How could he not be shocked? He had even reached the point of despair. "Legalism, you made my family unable to reunite. So I'll destroy your legalism. Du Xiaofu sneered. In the void, purple gold lightning bloomed, and sword lights surged. The overbearing killing intent shocked everyone in the square. Whoosh! A purple gold lightning like sword light, wrapped in the grand supreme being's power, cut through the void and slashed at Qin Wudi's knees. Swish! A peerless, overbearing sword chi was released, accompanied by the grand supreme being's power. Torrential killing intent swept out, and Qin Wudi's knees were severed, and blood splattered across the void. Ah! Qin Wudi's miserable voice pierced through the void. It couldn't be covered by the muffled sound of thunder, causing everyone who heard it to tremble in fear. At this moment, both of Qin Wudi's arms and legs were severed, and blood flowed like water. He had turned into a bloody stick. Oh my God! Everyone in the square felt their blood run cold, and their eyes were lifeless. At this moment, they finally knew how the name of the ferocious demon king came about. Now, are you in despair? Du Xiaofu held the purple gold heavenly fault in his hand. Purple gold lightning surged in his eyes as he stared at Qin Wudi, whose arms and legs were severed. His lips curled into a sinister smile, and his expression was cold. Chapter 1678. Qin Wudi's eyes were trembling with fear and despair. He was the #1 expert of the previous generation of legalism, a nirvana grand supremacy, an invincible existence that swept through his peers. However, this was the first time Qin Wudi felt such despair and fear. At this moment, not only was he terrified of Du Xiaofu's strength, but he was also in despair for the unkillable Demon King. Even if his head was shattered, it was useless. What else could he do? Wudi, third uncle. At this moment, the disciples of legalism who were besieged also felt despair and fear. They could only watch as their invincible existence, a nirvana grand supremacy, Qin Wudi, was ravaged by Du Xiaofu and turned into a human stick. For the people of legalism, it was as if their hope was shattered and their last bit of pride was shattered. On the square, Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, and the others, including Imo Runin and Zhou Xiaoluo, were all trembling violently. That ferocious man, even though he was so far away, made them feel uneasy at this moment. Little bastard, even if I die, I won't let you go. Just consider it a release. You can accompany me in death. Qin Wudi, an invincible and peerless man, was in a deranged state at this moment. At this moment, Qin Wudi had already collapsed. His body was swelling, blood was spilling out, and dazzling runes were blooming. Not good. Qin Wudi wants to self-destruct. Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, and the others frowned. A peerless and invincible existence of a generation was actually going to self-destruct. If a Nirvana Realm Grand Supreme Nirvana Realm Cultivator at the peak of Nirvana Realm were to explode at this moment, it would definitely not be a joke. It would be a destructive power. You want to self-destruct? It's too late. You should have self-destructed in the beginning. A faint voice resounded. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared beside Qin Wudi like a ghost with a ruthless smile on his face. Qin Wudi was shocked. He clearly saw Du Xiaofu's figure in front of him. From the corner of his eyes, he glanced at Du Xiaofu's position and saw an afterimage slowly disappearing. Qila, several talisman runes formed a seal and landed on Qin Wudi's body in an instant. Du Xiaofu had directly sealed him away. The resplendent runes around Qin Wudi's body quietly extinguished, and his eyes were lifeless. Du Xiaofu was in the sky, and the heavenly palace of purple gold was restrained. He directly lifted Qin Wudi, and his figure traversed the void. He directly charged into the legalism formation like lightning. At this moment, the legalism's formation had long been broken apart by all sides. Many legalism disciples were killed one after another. The remaining legalism disciples were being besieged by all sides, and they were all fighting for their lives. Meridian souls, martial veins, spiritual cauldrons, talisman cauldrons, and other treasures flew about as their might tore through space. However, at this moment, the remaining disciples of legalism were unable to endure the attacks from all sides, and they cried out incessantly. Coupled with the fact that Qin Wudi had been ravaged, This was undoubtedly a huge blow to the legalism disciples who were fighting for their lives. Legalism, don't leave a single one alive. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared, and he carried Qin Wudi as if he was carrying a short stick. He charged into the midst of the legalism disciples and swung him around. Bang, bang, bang. Du Xiaofu used Qin Wudi's body as a weapon, and he rampaged through, smashing the resplendent meridian souls and directly confronting the treasures. He shattered the void, and in an instant, several legalism elders were smashed into a bloody mist under their horrified gazes. One had to admit that Qin Wudi's nirvana physique was much stronger than ordinary magical treasures. Only Du Xiaofu would be able to destroy it like that. However, Qin Wudi's body was being used as a stick by Du Xiaofu, and he swept through everything in his way, destroying everything. The restricted Qin Wudi's hair was in a mess, and his mouth was dripping with blood. However, he was unable to move or resist. His eyes were filled with despair and resentment, but he was powerless to struggle. He couldn't even die. Du Xiaofu, the heavens won't let you off for being so vicious and savage. A legalism elder shouted in horror. His eyes were blood red, and it seemed as if they could spit out fire. Compared to your legalism, I'm vicious and savage. I'm afraid I can't even compare to your legalism, Du Xiaofu coldly shouted. His gaze was emotionless as he threw Qin Wudi in his hand like a sandbag. The old man from the legalism school who had spoken was only at the initial martial domain realm in the divine domain, so he was instantly crushed into meat paste. Du Xiaofu, no matter what, Qin Wudi is still your third uncle. You're disobeying your superiors and will suffer the wrath of the heavens. A legalism elder coldly shouted with resentment. When you treated me like that, weren't you afraid of the wrath of the heavens? When he wanted to kill me, weren't you afraid of the wrath of the heavens? If there's a wrath of the heavens, I'll go against it. Du Xiaofu's shout was like thunder. He swung Qin Wudi's body and smashed it fiercely, smashing that legalism elder into a bloody mist. The legalism disciples were already in a miserable state from being besieged. At this moment, with Du Xiaofu's sudden interruption, they were immediately no match for him. Their hearts and souls were already trembling. Run, quickly run. There were already people running away, but at this moment, they couldn't escape. Miserable screams rang out one after another as they suffered a bloody calamity. Xiaojing, quickly attack and kill that demon king. Xiaojing, you're a legalism person. You've been trained by legalism since you were young. Quickly attack. Some legalism elders cried out in grief. They thought of their last hope and looked towards Du Xiaojing, hoping that he would take action. At this moment, if there was still a chance to turn things around and someone could kill the demon king, Du Xiaofu, then these legalism elders were very clear that only Du Xiaojing would be able to turn the tide. However, at this moment, when these legalism elders were shouting for Du Xiaofu, they discovered that not far away in the void, Du Xiaojing's body was covered in purple arcs of lightning. His entire body seemed to be wrapped in a purple thunderball. There was some kind of aura awakening, and they simply couldn't hear their words. Die! Du Xiaofu raised Qin Wudi in his hand and violently swung it. It was like a peerless, vicious beast soaring through the sky. Immediately, these legalism elders were all smashed into meat paste, and their bodies exploded. Savage, too savage. This guy is even more ferocious than before. He hates legalism, It seems like the rumors were not wrong. The legalism has angered him, so they must have done something crazy to him. The gazes from all sides of the square were trembling. The experts from the major powers and the beast races felt their blood run cold as they secretly took in breaths of cold air. What a pitiful Qin Wudi. Everyone looked at the demon king using Qin Wudi as a staff in the void, causing a bloody mist to scatter in all directions. Their hearts were also palpitating with fear. However, at this time, when the people from the major clans saw the Thunder Spike, Dragon Shadow Phoenix Whip, Buddha Shadow Beads, Evil Warding Yin Yang Chain, Limitless Glorious Star Spear, Mystic Radiance Void Sword, and Taihang Mountain being activated by Little Tiger, Du Xiaoman, Silverwing Demonic Condor, Du Xiaoqing, Ghost Chariot, Easy Gene, General, and the others, A large number of people from the school of legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal were feeling very complicated. There was also a hint of helplessness and a faint ache in their hearts. Whoosh! In the outside world, on the Chunhuang mainland, although there were still people being brought out by the life-saving talismans, the number of people brought out by the life-saving talismans was decreasing by the day. Whoosh whoosh. No one knew when it started, but many people were brought out by the life-saving talismans from the divine domain. They seemed to be people from the desolate nation, school of Yin-Yang, school of farmer, and school of Mo. Some sharp-eyed people immediately noticed that the people brought out by the life-saving talismans were all disciples from the desolate nation, school of Yin-Yang, school of farmer, and school of farmer. The people from the school of legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragon smiled. The people brought out by the life-saving talismans were all their enemies. On the other hand, there wasn't a single legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. This made the people from the school of legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and the dragon clan speculate that perhaps the three great clans had set up a sure-kill situation. Right now, the people from the desolate country, school of Yin-Yang, and school of Mo were no match for them. That's strange. I remember that guy was brought out by the life-saving talisman once. Why is he out again? Soon after, some people realized that many of the disciples from the school of Yin-Yang and desolate nation who were brought out by the life-saving talismans had been brought out by the life-saving talismans before. There were even a few people who were brought out by the life-saving talismans just a while ago. The life-saving talismans could only be used once. Now that these people had appeared again, everyone couldn't help but be surprised and puzzled. The experts from the school of legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons had also noticed this. The memories of these experts definitely wouldn't be wrong. Some of them had already been protected by the life-saving talismans once before. Now that they had appeared again, they couldn't help but be puzzled. And these people who were brought out by the life-saving talismans were the disciples from the school of Moism, desolate nation, and school of Yin-Yang, who had been killed in the Supreme Tomb Square. Facing the school of legalism, school of Yin-Yang, and dragons, they fought back with all their might. Some people even chose to self-destruct after fighting with demonic beasts to the extreme. Therefore, those who were unlucky would also be killed. However, they had the life-saving talismans. As for the disciples from the school of legalism, school of Yin-Yang, dragons, and other demonic beasts, if they died, they would truly die. They were killed once again. Looking down, they said to the experts and elders of their respective families, "We're fine. Don't worry." With that, they continued to rush into the Supreme Tomb space without hesitation. The Supreme Tomb was about to open. They still had to rush into the Supreme Tomb. They didn't want to miss out on the greatest opportunity. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough time. As for the school of legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal, the disciples from the school of Yin-Yang, desolate nation, and school of vertical and horizontal didn't care at all. They knew that once those old fellows knew the truth, they wouldn't even be able to cry even if they wanted to. Legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, dragons, if you're secretly happy, then you'll have the time to cry. Du Hao's figure appeared on the Chunhuang mainland. He was killed by the self-destruction of two people from the legalism. Looking down at the school of legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal, he couldn't help but curse. Then, he directly rushed into the Supreme Tomb space. Chapter 1679. Little Bastard. Legalism. Some experts from the school of vertical and horizontal cursed, but there was nothing they could do. Du Hao had already returned to the divine dominion. There seems to be a situation. Old Man Di Pai, Old Monster Xing Hun, and Icy Ink looked at each other and exchanged glances. They seemed to have sensed that there was something going on. Just when everyone was puzzled, the divine dominion fluctuated. Ancient runes fluctuated and radiated brilliance. Finally, under the gazes of the crowd, a familiar figure appeared. A man with tattered clothes that could barely cover his body appeared in the sky. His hair was disheveled, and he looked as though he had just crawled out from a beggar's nest. Swish, swish, however, when this man appeared, The figures in the sky above the Huang mainland all trembled as their gazes turned towards him. Because this man who looked disheveled was none other than Du Xiaofu. At this moment, although Du Xiaofu looked disheveled, purple-gold lightning surged in his eyes when he opened and closed them. He was also holding a bloody thing with disheveled hair in his hand. It's Du Xiaofu. The Demon King has appeared again. Everyone exclaimed and subconsciously looked at the thing in Du Xiaofu's hand. It looks like a person. Someone was puzzled. That bloody thing was obviously a person, but it was chopped into a human stick. How ruthless. This Du Xiaofu must have been done by the Demon King. The experts in the Huang mainland clicked their tongues. When the people below saw it clearly, they gasped. Legalism, old fogies. Do you know who he is? Du Xiaofu was in the sky with ancient runes wrapped around his body. He appeared on the Huang mainland at the edge of the Divine Dominion and waved the Qin Wudi in his hand at the legalism people. It looks like all the legalism supporters felt their hearts tighten. Ever since Du Xiaofu appeared, they already had a bad premonition. Oh no, that's Wudi. He fell into Du Xiaofu's hands and had his limbs chopped off. Upon closer inspection, the legalism players immediately realized that the person in Du Xiaofu's hands was none other than Qin Wudi, whom they had almost failed to recognize. Invincible Qin. The invincible Qin from 30 years ago? Shua shua. At this moment, the gazes of many people on the Huang mainland were trembling. Many old and weathered faces stared at Du Xiaofu's hand. Not many people in the younger generation knew of Qin Wudi's name, but many people from the older generation were very clear in their hearts. Back then, in order to find Qin Wudi, the various forces had secretly inquired about Qin Wudi and knew what kind of terrifying existence Qin Wudi was. Du Xiaofu, what are you trying to do? In an instant, many old people in the legalism camp shouted loudly. However, looking at Qin Wudi's current appearance, they began to feel uneasy in the depths of their hearts. They were afraid. This was the thing they feared the most, and the thing they didn't want to happen the most. Du Xiaofu looked at the twitching faces of the legalists. His lips curled into a faint sneer like a cat toying with a mouse. It was a form of mockery. He asked softly, "Are you afraid? Bastard, you'll come out one day. Brat, haven't you thought about the day you'll come out?" Li Chenfa, Qin Tianshi, and the others shouted. At this moment, their eyes suddenly changed color. Qin Wudi was the hope of legalism. He was an invincible genius. If he died, they couldn't afford to pay the price. Invincible Qin, great supreme nirvana, peak nirvana of true self, invincible. Is this what you legalism rely on to kill me in the divine domain? As Du Xiaofu's mocking voice fell, his expression suddenly turned gloomy. A chill gushed out, and killing intent shot out from his eyes. Legalism, this is your retribution. This is the price you have to pay. When his voice fell, the killing intent in Du Xiaofu's eyes overflowed. He clenched his fist, and the space in his palm was crushed. Qin Wudi's body, which was already in a daze, was instantly crushed. It crumbled inch by inch and turned into a rain of blood that sprinkled in the air. Walala! The Supreme Being's blood that filled the sky didn't scatter, instead turning into a resplendent, bloody light. Qin Wudi, such a heavenly genius with an invincible demeanor, had his brilliance completely extinguished in this world. Don't! No! Roars echoed one after another. Many elders of legalism cried out mournfully, heart-wrenching and lung-splitting, shaking the void. Is our school of legalism going to lose its momentum? That little bastard is so vicious. He wants to cut off my legalism's luck. When they saw Qin Wudi's body turning into a bloody mist, the eyes of legalism were already bloodshot. Many elders were trembling as they cried out in grief. A supreme nirvana expert, or a great supreme nirvana expert, legalism had always been hiding, hoping to gain the upper hand in this last divine domain, so as to prevent others from knowing the enemy as well as themselves. Even if Du Xiaofu appeared in legalism and a great supreme nirvana expert shocked the world, legalism still decided to learn the secrets from Du Xiaofu, even if it would cause Du Xiaofu's dissatisfaction. All of this was because legalism also had a great supreme nirvana expert, and their own great supreme nirvana expert was naturally the best choice. When Han Ningma was killed, legalism was already crying out in grief. However, legalism was still thinking that Qin Wudi was still inside, and Qin Wudi was the only hope to deal with Du Xiaofu. As long as Qin Wudi was here, legalism would not fall. But now, they could only watch as Qin Wudi was killed, and his divine soul was completely destroyed. In the end, the resentment and helplessness in Qin Wudi's eyes were extinguished, as if the fire of legalism was extinguished. A great supreme nirvana expert was condensed from legalism's luck. Legalism gave the best resources to Qin Wudi, and only then did it create such an invincible expert. Back then, Qin Wudi was almost unable to recover from the setback, but later on, he dodged a calamity, allowing these elders of legalism to breathe a sigh of relief. But now, Qin Wudi was killed in front of them. It was undoubtedly cutting off the luck of legalism in front of them. An invincible existence like Qin Wudi was the future and opportunity for legalism to prosper. It had to be said that Han Ingma's death caused the legalists' hearts to bleed and ache. But now that Qin Wudi was killed, that stinging pain was undoubtedly 1,000 times stronger than the injury. Puqi, some of the elders of legalism vomited blood and fainted on the spot. Puqi above the void. Qin Tianshi and Li Chunfa's mouths were also overflowing with blood. When they opened their eyes, the cold light was like lightning, able to tear apart the dome of heaven. Little bastard, I will let you die without a burial ground. Qin Tianshi roared. His aura soared and shook the clouds, surging and terrifying. Qin Wudi was Qin Tianshi's direct descendant, the hope of his Qin clan. At this moment, one could imagine the anger in Qin Tianshi's heart. But at this moment, Du Xiaofu's figure had already disappeared from the boundary of the divine domain. Everyone in the void sighed. Some were shocked, and some were overwhelmed with shock. But at this moment, no one said anything. Everyone could hear the anger in Qin Tianshi's heart. If they were to provoke Qin Tianshi now, Qin Tianshi and Li Chunfa would probably go crazy. They were just worried that they couldn't find a chance to vent their anger. When the time comes, they would fight to the death. Although some of the experts present weren't afraid of Qin Tianshi and Li Chunfa, they still didn't want to start a fight to the death. How did that brat have the strength to kill Qin Wudi? How did he become so strong? Dragons, in the Unhindered clan, there were people who were puzzled. Then, they all faintly felt a sense of uneasiness. In the Supreme Tomb Square, the scene of Du Xiaofu killing Qin Wudi was also clearly seen by everyone. It was just that they couldn't see the outside world. He can see the outside world. Unbelievable. He seems to have fallen behind and taken out a life-saving talisman. It should be related to the life-saving talisman. Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, and the others spoke in surprise. Du Xiaofu looked at the void. At this moment, the legalism, Unhindered clan, and Dragon's lineup had been suppressed to the point where they couldn't even raise their heads. They were almost being slaughtered. Slightly raising his head, Du Xiaofu looked at the void in front of him. His drunkard father and Gongsun Wuji had also reached the final stage of their battle. The two of them activated their supreme strength at the same time. Both of them had 9 dazzling divine rings, representing that they were Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes. Oh my god, 2 Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes. This is a battle between a group of Supremes. Du Tingxian is also a Grand Supremes. Both father and son are Grand Supremes. How shocking is that? Wrong. That little dragon girl seems to be Du Xiaofu's daughter. They are 3 generations of Grand Supremes. Oh my god. If that's the case, the number of Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes in the desolate country is already a group. Du Tingxian and Gongsun Wuji's battle had reached a stalemate, which caused endless exclamations from all directions. You are also a Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes. Gongsun Wuji's eyes were filled with astonishment. He had not expected Du Tingxian to be a Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes as well. Qin Wudi's death had greatly affected Gongsun Wuji's state of mind. The surrounding disciples from the school of vertical and horizontal were dying one after another, but Gongsun Wuji was unable to interfere at all. He couldn't even take down Du Tingxian, which caused him to gradually lose his composure and become somewhat crazy. Kill. Gongsun Wuji held a treasure in his hand. It was a treasured sword that had reached the level of a saint artifact. With a slash of the sword, it tore through the void. The treasured sword's hilt was inlaid with blue-colored glass. The sword's body was scarlet red, and lava flowed out of it. Its power was overwhelming. You are not the only Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes. Du Tingxian continued his battle. He held a long spear that was covered with lightning. It was as if a divine dragon had been born. The power of the long spear was even stronger than the treasured sword in Gongsun Wuji's hand. Lightning rumbled as he waved the spear. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. Lightning and electric arcs exploded, and the void was already boiling. The heavenly sound rumbled, and the destructive power made people's hearts palpitate and their souls tremble. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. He was a little surprised by the strength of his drunkard father's Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes and Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes. Du Xiaofu was not surprised by Gongsun Wuji's Nirvana Realm Grand Supremes. Listening to the discussions around him, Gongsun Wuji and Qin Wudi's talents were equally peerless. With the support of the school of vertical and horizontal, Gongsun Wuji was naturally not inferior to Qin Wudi. Then, Du Xiaofu looked at little Xingxing and Long San. Ao, ao. The dragon's roar did not stop. The two huge dragons were fighting in the sea of clouds, and the sky was falling and the earth was cracking. Chapter 1680. Long San's black dragon body roared. Black runes soared into the sky, looking ferocious and terrifying. All kinds of secret techniques of the dragon clan could be used by the true dragon beast, causing the void to continuously crack and recover. Little Xingxing's body was obviously more powerful at this moment. It gathered all kinds of beast energy, star energy, the aura of the purple flame demonic phoenix, the aura of the golden-winged great Pong, and several other means. Golden flames covered its dragon scales. It flapped its wings and burned the void, causing the void to shatter. The battle between the two dragons caused the void to collapse. The two huge dragon bodies were blurry in the chaotic void, but they had a common characteristic. There were dazzling runes on their bodies, releasing a powerful aura that was mysterious and powerful. It had to be said that Long San was indeed very powerful. As a descendant of true dragons, his physique was tough, and his means were powerful. He was a Nirvana sovereign, which meant that he was one of the best among all living beings. However, little Xingxing was obviously more overbearing. It also brought along a kind of absolute mystery and a terrifying aura. It was able to suppress Long San to the point that his strength was greatly reduced. That kind of aura made all beasts feel uneasy. It also made the bloodline of dragons feel a terrifying suppression from the bloodline and dragon soul. Dragon soul heavenly roar. Black dragon mixed in the world. Long San was pushed to the end. He went all out and used his ultimate move. The more he fought, the more frightened he became. Black tortoise fury. Azure dragon soul. Little Xingxing retaliated. Its roar was as loud as thunder. Its beast energy suppressed the heavens and the earth. A large area of the void was completely shattered by the dragon roar and the huge shadow. It's too powerful, too terrifying. The people on the square below looked at each other in dismay. Not to mention Du Xiaofu and Qin Wudi. Not to mention Gongsun Wuji and Du Tingxian. Even the battle between little Xingxing and Long San made them feel a little creeped out. I feel that I'm not a match for him. On the square, Kong Sansi said with a trembling voice. He felt that he was inferior. At this moment, it wasn't just Kong Sansi. Many experts were secretly comparing in their hearts and were terrified. In the void above, Du Tingxian, Gongsun Wuji, Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, Long San, Du Xiaoyao, Hui Dragon King, and even Qin Wudi, who had just been killed, Hui Dragon King, Sky Wolf, Sky Demon, and the others. If they were to fight with them, they would definitely not be a match. At this moment, the strongest experts of the same generation, Nirvana realm. Nirvana sovereigns who were weaker could not interfere. This was a true sovereign's battle. Du Xiaofu asked around for a while and was no longer worried about Little Star. In the void far away from the square, Du Xiaoyao and the Sea Serpent King were still fighting. The huge red-bone horse monkey and the Sea Serpent King were also fighting to the point where the heavens and earth were collapsing. Du Xiaoyao had the body of the red-bone horse monkey, a greater Nirvana realm sovereign. She had also stepped into the Nirvana realm, but it seemed that she had just stepped into it. The Mirage Dragon King was a lesser Nirvana realm sovereign, but it had already stepped into the half-step Nirvana realm sovereign Nirvana realm. However, it could not gain any advantage in front of Du Xiaoyao. The red-bone horse monkey and the Mirage Dragon King fought further and further away, until the end of the square was collapsing. Heavenly Wolfimo Tianxiao transformed into his original form. He was only 100 feet long, much smaller than the other beasts. However, a shocking light burst out from his body, and he turned into a giant wolf covered in green light. He was covered in vigorous scales, and 6 divine halos surrounded him. The lesser sovereign's aura swept across the sky. The heavenly wolf is really terrifying. Looking at the heavenly wolf's body, many people in the square were secretly trembling. Some beasts whose bloodlines were already extraordinary cried out in surprise. The celestial wolf was definitely one of the supreme beasts among beasts. It was the pinnacle bloodline of the wolf race. Dongli Qingqing was fighting against Lonesome Skywolf. Green light shone from her body, swallowing vitality and sweeping through the void. 7 divine rings appeared above her head. That was the nirvana of profound meanings. Although her physical strength was only equal to Lonesome Skywolf's, it was hard to tell who would win. But when Dongli Qingqing's godlike power awakened, and she summoned the Taiqing demon subduing Bao, everything changed. Boom! The Taiqing demon subduing Bao rumbled, and the mysterious runes on the talismans flickered. Mist rose into the sky, and a dazzling green light spread out like the sun. The terrifying aura was like the awakening of an ancient demon god from a deep slumber. The bow was pulled back, and beams of energy arrows were released. Whoosh whoosh! Numerous energy arrows shot out, and wherever they passed, the space directly collapsed. They pierced through the void, and they could devour life force and corrode runes. Ow! The celestial wolf roared. Green light surged, but it could only dodge. It didn't dare to fight head-on, afraid of the energy arrows. However, although Dongli Qingqing could suppress the celestial wolf with the Taiqing demon subduing Bao, it was impossible for her to completely deal with the celestial wolf for the time being. Jialo Jueyu, Jialo Kaling, Qi Yeshi, and Su Muxin surrounded Yelu Han. Although there were 4 supreme beasts, Qi Yeshi, Su Muxin, Jialo Jueyu, and Jialo Kaling were only nirvanic nirvanas. The 4 of them surrounded Yelu Han, but they couldn't gain any advantage. Yelu Han's eyes opened and closed, as if they contained 2 seas of blood. Terrifying light shot out, and a majestic sea of baleful aura appeared around him. It was filled with runes, and it shone with light. This was Yelu Han's sea of baleful aura vein soul. He was an earth vein soul, and his baleful aura had turned corporeal and could devour everything. Everyone below was secretly shocked. Yelu Han was absolutely terrifying. Compared to Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji, he wasn't much weaker. Qi Yeshi and the other supreme beasts couldn't gain any advantage. However, Yelu Han was firmly trapped in front of Qi Yeshi and the other supreme beasts. Even escaping was a problem, and he couldn't gain any advantage. Leave the celestial wolf to me. Baleful aura filled the sky, and in the violent battle of void energy, Du Xiaofu appeared in front of Qi Yeshi, Su Muxin, Jialo Jueyu, and Jialo Kaling. Du Xiaofu's hair was a mess. The purple battle robe on his body could only barely cover his body. His exposed skin was suffused with a purple gold light. However, the invisible aura was still incomparably overbearing, adding a berserk savagery to it. Seeing Du Xiaofu, Qi Yeshi, Jialo Kaling, Su Muxin, and Jialo Jueyu retreated without hesitation. They glanced at the battlefield, then immediately pounced on the most difficult primordial beast descendants to deal with. Many of the primordial beast descendants that followed the Hui Dragon King had reached the Greater Domain Realm, and even more of them were at the Sealed Domain Realm. Although the desolate country had Xingfeng, Donghu, Qi Dragon, Du Yunlong, Dai Xingyu, Yi Piaoling, and the rest of the 18 celestial generals. However, the large group of primordial beast descendants was undoubtedly much more difficult to deal with than the dying house of Zongheng. Kill! Jialo Jueyu and Jialo Kaling's enormous golden-winged great rocks soared into the sky. Along with Jialo Juekong, Jialo Jueo, and the others, they immediately suppressed many primordial beast descendants. Qi Yeshi and Su Mushin descended together and forcibly suppressed 2 ferocious sealed domain realm primordial beast descendants. At this moment, Yelu Han's face was ashen, and his blood-red eyes were trembling. Facing Du Xiaofu, even his spirit was trembling. Yelu Han had seen the scene of Du Xiaofu ravaging and killing Qin Wudi out of the corner of his eye. He also believed that although he was strong, he was still a little weaker than Qin Wudi of the legalism sect. Du Xiaofu, I have nothing to do with the house of Zongheng. Let's mind our own business and not have anything to do with each other in the future. How about it? The Sky Fiend said. He didn't want to fight with Du Xiaofu. This guy actually compromised. Fire Cloud Evil God raised his head and looked at the Sky Fiend. He seemed to be familiar with the Sky Fiend, so he was a bit surprised. The Sky Fiend had directly compromised. This didn't seem like Yelu Han's temperament. He was clearly afraid of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. We haven't settled our old accounts yet. If you add a new one, do you think I'll let you off? Du Xiaofu faintly smiled, but the curve of his lips made Yelu Han's heart palpitate for no reason. Du Xiaofu, don't go too far. Yelu Han shouted, his eyes cold and his face ashen. A sea of baleful aura surged around him. If you're afraid, then it's because I'm going too far. Don't forget, you're the one who provoked me time and time again. Du Xiaofu still smiled faintly. Step by step, he crossed the void and walked towards Yelu Han. He didn't fear the baleful aura at all. Du Xiaofu had already fought with the Sky Fiend before. However, he was only at the Nirvana realm. He hadn't reached the Nirvana realm. I'll fight you to the death, Yelu Han shouted. The sea of baleful aura surged around him. The billowing baleful aura and supreme power transformed into lightning that swept towards Du Xiaofu. Scatter! Du Xiaofu wasn't afraid. He waved his hand and purple lightning covered his body, scattering the baleful aura around him. Activating his immortal Shin body, he didn't fear the baleful aura entering his body. Chi! But at this moment, the Sky Fiend Yelu Han's figure had already disappeared. He didn't want to fight Du Xiaofu to the death. Instead, he wanted to use this opportunity to escape. Previously, when he was surrounded by Qi Yeshi, Jialo Jueyu, and the other two, Yelu Han didn't even have a chance to escape. His surroundings were sealed and the void was frozen. Now, he finally found an opportunity. He didn't want to fight with Du Xiaofu. He knew he wasn't his match, and he didn't want to fall into his trap. Qi! The Sky Fiend's figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the distant void of the vast square. Yelu Han revealed a faint smile and immediately fled. At this moment, he couldn't care less about the Sky Wolf. Not good. But at this moment, the Sky Fiend Yelu Han seemed to sense something. The smile on his face froze and his eyes trembled fiercely. You want to escape? You don't seem fast enough. But at this moment, golden light seeped out of the void. Large swaths of the void twisted and solidified. The golden talisman runes began to fluctuate. In the next instant, that familiar figure appeared in front of the Sky Fiend Yelu Han. The smile on his face didn't even change. Everyone, check to see if there are any fresh flowers left. You can give them to others. If you give them to Little You, you'll be even more grateful. Anyway, don't waste them. Even if Little You can't write that many chapters this month, he'll remember to write next month. Chapter 1681. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's illusory golden wings were shining brightly. Tian Sha's speed wasn't something Du Xiaofu could compare with. Du Xiaofu, you've gone too far. In an instant, Tian Sha used his baleful aura as a foundation to activate his martial veins, connecting heaven and earth. It turned into a baleful aura broadsword and slashed at Du Xiaofu. I'm not the same as before, and you haven't improved at all. Du Xiaofu smiled. His white teeth shone with a cold light. He stretched out his palm, and his supreme being power surged. It wrapped around the purple gold lightning and directly grabbed the baleful aura broadsword. The baleful aura broadsword shattered inch by inch, turning into a wave of baleful aura that swept out. Bang! At the same time, Du Xiaofu's left fist punched Tian Sha's chest. Puff. Tian Sha spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood was dark red and filled with a terrifying aura. However, the blood he spat out instantly turned into a blood-red python. Its tongue was scarlet, and its eyes were terrifying. It bit at Du Xiaofu. Swish! Du Xiaofu's rock chaos-shattering claw slashed out. Amidst the thunder and lightning, a golden light burst out. It carried the domineering will of the golden-winged rock clan and directly crushed the blood-red python into pieces. The aftershock of the claw landed on Tian Sha's right shoulder. It tore through his defense and tore through his flesh. Under that invincible and terrifying force, the heaven emanation's right shoulder was exposed, and he screamed in pain. Du Xiaofu, I'll fight you to the death. Tian Sha roared. The sea of blood in his eyes churned. This time, he really wanted to go all out. His baleful aura surged, and his supreme being power swept out. It turned into a whirlpool of baleful aura that crazily pressed against Du Xiaofu. Screech! The purple-gold thunder rock phantasm appeared around Du Xiaofu. Its mighty and overbearing aura swept out. Its entire body was covered with dense purple-gold electric arcs. As it rapidly twisted, it finally gathered into a huge purple-gold thunderbolt. It flapped its wings and overturned the evil aura waves that swept out from the Tian Sha. Walala! The purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings and unleashed a series of purple-gold thunder devastations onto the heaven emanation's body. Puchi! The terrifying purple-gold thunderbolt that covered the sky and the earth struck down, causing the Tian Sha's defense to explode. His physical body cracked, and he spat out blood continuously. Chila! In the blink of an eye, a pair of illusory claws under the purple-gold thunder rock's abdomen exploded with purple-gold lightning arcs. The lightning arcs wreaked havoc in the sky. The lightning arcs were tens of thousands of feet long, as if there was a purple-gold sun in the sky. Ka! A claw mark tore the space apart, and the space around the heaven Sha was instantly torn apart. The violent destructive energy destroyed the sea of baleful aura around the heaven Sha, causing waves of violent baleful aura to surge. Boom! Boom! Du Xiaofu's figure swooped down from the purple-gold thunder rock's shadow and appeared behind the heaven Sha. His fist, which was covered with thunder martial veins, was like a purple-gold thunderball as it heavily landed on the heaven Sha's back. The purple-gold thunderbolt was filled with killing intent, and its aura was like that of a thunder sovereign. Rumble! With a dull sound, the heaven Sha's body was covered with purple lightning arcs. He staggered forward and spat out blood once again. However, at this moment, a bloody hole appeared on Yelu Han's back. Blood dripped from the hole, revealing the dark red bones. It was a shocking sight. The heaven Sha's body fell forward. Yelu Han's eyes were filled with horror. He borrowed the momentum to escape, not willing to miss any opportunity. After all, Yelu Han didn't want to die. No one was willing to die. Facing the terrifying Demon King, even the unkillable Demon King, Yelu Han felt fear in his heart. He had no intention to fight, only fear. You can't escape. The rock soar's 10,000 miles speed was practically crushed by the heaven Sha. Du Xiaofu's figure followed him like a shadow. He reached out with one hand and, with the momentum of a dive, swiftly grabbed Tian Sha's leg and threw him over his shoulder. Pong pong! The pitiful Tian Sha was lifted up by one leg by Du Xiaofu and smashed into a mountain below like an impact cannon. The mountain was smashed into pieces, and the entire mountain was on the verge of collapsing amidst the rumbling sounds. It was a sight to behold. Goo! This scene caused the fire cloud evil god to inwardly suck in a breath of cold air. He felt pain for the heaven Sha and couldn't help but rejoice that he didn't provoke the terrifying Demon King. Du Xiaofu's figure rushed into the midst of the flying rocks. He reached out with his claw and grabbed the dispirited heaven Sha, who was violently vomiting blood. Like a snake, Du Xiaofu threw him back and forth several times, causing the surrounding mountains to shake and the ground to crack. Puff puff. This kind of abuse caused Yelu Han to continuously vomit blood. In the end, he was restrained by Du Xiaofu without hesitation. The pitiful heaven Sha, Yelu Han, whose battle strength was enough to rank in the top 10 of the entire divine domain, had been sealed for a very long time and had deliberately not broken through. At this moment, he was being held in Du Xiaofu's hand like a little chick. Too savage. Seeing this scene, Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, Zhou Xiaoluo, and Mo Runan, and the others all sucked in a breath of cold air. Looking at the savage demon king from afar, they also felt a sense of dread. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu raised his head from the collapsed mountain as if he had seen something. Lightning surged out of his hand and wrapped around Yelu Han's body. Then, he ruthlessly threw Yelu Han away like a bomb. Olo! The Sky Wolf roared as it dodged Dongli Qingqing's attacks. Suddenly, before the Sky Wolf could react, a humanoid figure broke through the air and ruthlessly slammed into its body. Bang bang! This collision caused both the Sky Wolf and the Sky Fiend to vomit blood at the same time. A terrifying purple thunderbolt with destructive and violent energy spread out from the Sky Wolf's body, turning into resplendent lightning runes that swept out like a tsunami. Swish, swish, swish. At the same time, Dongli Qingqing shot 3 arrows in succession, piercing through the void. The Sky Wolf dodged the first arrow and blocked the second, but the third arrow pierced through its defenses and landed on its butt. The energy arrow spread out with green runes, devouring its life force. Eolo! The Sky Wolf howled miserably, its angry eyes emitting a cold light. What are you howling for? Du Xiaofu's figure appeared like a ghost. His fist carried the roar of a dragon and the cry of an elephant. Wrapped in the supreme power of 9 divine rings, it smashed into the Sky Wolf's malevolent head with unparalleled tyranny. Eolo! The heavenly wolf Lonely Sky Howl spat out a mouthful of blood, but Du Xiaofu's terrifying punch only managed to destroy the supreme power above his head and severely injure him. This showed that the Sky Wolf was not simple. It was even more powerful than the Heaven Shah. The Sky Wolf erupted with all its might, or else it knew that it could not escape this calamity. The green light on its body suddenly surged, turning into a green river that swept out in all directions. The runes were incomparably blazing, causing the surrounding void to be filled with green runes and mysterious runes. Sky Wolf howls at the moon. The Sky Wolf raised its head and roared. Dazzling green light spewed out from its mouth, causing the void to rumble. Suddenly, there seemed to be a green moon descending from above the void. It was filled with a vast aura, as if there were countless ferocious giant wolf phantoms jumping around. In an instant, the surrounding void was drowned out. The terrifying power made people tremble in fear. Many demonic beast souls were frightened and wanted to crawl. This is the ultimate killing technique of the Sky Wolf clan. Someone below said, his eyes filled with shock. Under that terrifying killing technique, the void trembled and the space rippled. The energy was so intense that it made people's souls tremble. Du Xiaofu's golden-winged giant rock phantom flapped its wings. Golden light swept across everything, destroying the space and scattering the green light around. It was simple and direct. However, by the time Du Xiaofu appeared, the heavenly wolf had already disappeared from the chaotic void without a trace. Whoosh! Du Xiaofu looked into the distance. At the end of the horizon, there was a green light flashing through the sky like lightning, disappearing in an instant. The Sky Wolf clan has a secret escape technique. He escaped. Dongli Qingqing went to Du Xiaofu's side and looked in the direction where the Sky Wolf had escaped. She was also helpless. She couldn't completely deal with the Sky Wolf Lonely Sky Howl. Du Xiaofu glanced at the battlefield. He didn't intend to chase after the Sky Wolf. He waved his hand and handed the heavenly demon Yelu Han, who had just hit the Sky Wolf, to Dongli Qingqing. Then, he disappeared on the spot. At the moment, the battle between Du Xiaoyao and the Sea Serpent Dragon was in full swing. Roar! Du Xiaoyao's red-boned horse monkey roared and hissed. Her energy was full of vitality, and she communicated with the world. There was a kind of origin energy from the world in the flashing lightning and rumbling thunder. Endless dazzling light burst out and bombarded the Sea Serpent Dragon King. Roar! The Sea Serpent Dragon King resisted with all its strength. Its half-step nirvana realm cultivation and the power of a lesser sovereign could only resist Du Xiaoyao's attacks. Many reverse scales on the sea serpent dragon king's huge body were quietly shattered by Du Xiaoyao's punches. Du Xiaoyao flew across the sky. Her golden body was like an indestructible diamond. She wasn't afraid of the sea serpent dragon king's counterattack. She shattered a large number of bright dragon runes. The broken runes were like a rain of light that fell from the sky. It was dreamy and illusory. Boom! Du Xiaoyao flew across the sky and grabbed many reverse scales on the sea serpent dragon's back. Suppress. At the same time, Du Xiaoyao's redbone horse monkey body turned into a golden five-fingered mountain and appeared. The five-fingered mountain wasn't illusory. It was real. The golden runes on its body were evolving. Boom! The five-fingered mountain made the space tremble. At this moment, the mountains around the square were also rumbling and the ground was shaking. Chapter 1682. Dense spiritual energy spread out from the peak of the five-finger mountain, connecting with the energy of heaven and earth. Terrifying power spread out like a long rainbow. Golden talismans and mysterious patterns were released, crushing and suppressing all things in the world. A supreme being had descended. Pucci. Under this suppression, the dragon scales on the sea serpent king's body shattered. The 6 divine fires on its body also dimmed. At the same time, it spat out dragon blood. Aoo, aoo. In the distant void, Long San's black dragon body roared. Large patches of dragon scales on his body shattered. His supreme dragon blood sprayed in the air but did not dissipate. Soon after, he disappeared from the world. At this moment, Long San's appearance was very miserable. Even one of his dragon horns had been broken, and there were traces of scorching on his body. On the other hand, the little starry mutant dragon spread its wings and settled down. Its body was sparkling and translucent, wrapped in golden flames and filled with all kinds of energy. Little Xingxing's physical body was so strong that it seemed to be on par with Du Xiaofu, who could not be killed. Even when he fought with Long San, he did not leave a single mark on his body. On the other hand, Long San's black dragon body was already riddled with wounds. Blood was seeping out of his body. He appeared to be in a very miserable state. His physical body had been completely ravaged. Not only did Little Star suppress Long San with the nirvana of a greater supreme over a lesser supreme, but it also had a mysterious aura of dragons that suppressed Long San. And Little Star was only at the nirvana level. If the two of them were at the same level, Long San would probably be ravaged miserably. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in front of Little Xingxing. Looking at Long San in front of him, there was a purple-gold light fluctuating in his eyes. Father, give me a little more time, and I'll be able to destroy this mixed blood dragon. Little Star's dragon eyes burned with golden flames. The third eye between his eyebrows shot out divine light that could make people's primordial spirits tremble. The power of a supreme being surged, suppressing Long San. Long San was fighting for a long time and was still being suppressed by the mutated dragon. That invisible pressure was greatly suppressing him. That kind of suppression made it feel as if it was facing an ancestral soul. Just as it was feeling apprehensive, Dragon 3 saw Du Xiaofu appear, and its black dragon eyes became even more unsightly. Dragon marks fluctuated, and black runes surged. Du Xiaofu looked at Long San, who had an ugly expression, and smiled coldly. He said to Little Xingxing, "It's not bad to leave this mixed blood dragon alive to eat. Be careful when you kill it. Leave the corpse intact." "All right, it's been a long time since I've had roasted dragon meat." At the thought of eating, Little Xingxing's saliva almost flowed out. Roar! Hearing Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing's unbridled words, Long San was enraged. His black eyes seemed like they were about to shoot out black divine flames. His huge black dragon body stretched across the void, and the terrifying dragon might on his body made the world roar. "Du Xiaofu, little dragon, do you really think you can do anything to me? Dream on. The victor is still uncertain." When the ferocious dragon roar fell, a dazzling object appeared between Long San's eyebrows. It was like a miniature horned dragon, emitting dazzling light. It was accompanied by a dragon roar and a supreme aura that filled the void. It was a dragon horn that looked like a deer's antler. It was vigorous and boundless, and the mysterious dragon marks on it were dazzling. It carried a dragon's might with it. A true dragon horn. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes. It was a true dragon horn. He had obtained one from Long Si, Long Qi, and Long Ba. This was a second one that was almost identical. But from the shape, Du Xiaofu could see that this true dragon horn should be a pair with the one he had placed in the purple lightning profound cauldron to suppress it. It came from the same true dragon. A true dragon horn, the treasure of dragons. It was really fought by dragons. When the true dragon horn appeared, Zhou Xiaoluo, who was far away, was shocked. Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, and Imo Runin were also shocked. A true dragon horn was the true treasure of dragons. It could be seen that the dragons attached great importance to the divine dominion. They seemed to be determined to obtain it and wanted to suppress the other heroes. "You can't do anything to me." As Long San roared, a terrifying aura burst out from his body. His black dragon scales were dazzling, and he spat out a mouthful of dragon blood. Whoosh! The dragon blood turned into a dazzling light. Like a young dragon soaring into the sky, it directly plunged into the dazzling true dragon horn. Suddenly, the true dragon horn became even more dazzling. The mysterious runes on it flickered with dazzling light. The energy of heaven and earth gathered and filled the air with a terrifying might. The dazzling light caused the world to tremble. The terrifying aura that spread out from the true dragon horn made the surrounding demonic beasts tremble. It was much more terrifying than the heavenly wolf's aura. Suddenly, a huge golden dragon phantom of an unknown length appeared on the true dragon's horn, enveloping Long San's huge black dragon body. Roar! A dragon's roar filled the sky. The dragon's aura spread out and suppressed the world. The aura was terrifying. At this moment, under the terrifying aura, Du Xiaofu frowned slightly. The power of the true dragon's horn that Long San used was far more terrifying than the true dragon's horn used by Long Si and the others. It was almost at the level of Nirvana Transcendence Realm. It was at the level of half-step Nirvana Transcendence Realm. "Kiki, die for me." Long San, who was shrouded by the giant dragon phantom, shouted fiercely. The supreme power in his body surged, and along with the power of the true dragon horn, it swept towards Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. Roar! The huge dragon phantom covered the sky, and a terrifying energy swept across the sky above the array. It quietly spread out with a huge pressure, as if it was causing the world to tremble. It was shocking. Bang, bang, bang. That terrifying energy was accompanied by a mysterious power that caused the void to shatter inch by inch. The surroundings were torn apart by pitch-black spatial cracks. Mixed blood dragon, little Xingxing attacked, and a deep light suddenly shot out from his back. It turned into the black tortoise divine shell, and an extremely dense pressure spread out. In an instant, the entire sky trembled and rumbled. "Come, little Xingxing!" Little Xingxing shouted, and golden light shot out from his eyes. A dazzling ink-black rune light spread out from the black tortoise divine shell, and an illusory beast phantom roared like a dragon as it soared into the sky. The beast phantom was completely black and dazzling. The turtle and snake intertwined as if they were alive, and a huge pressure descended. The black tortoise divine shell filled the sky as if it was alive, and it directly enveloped the huge golden dragon phantom. A majestic power spread out, and even the space was distorted. Spatial ripples spread out in all directions. The terrifying energy emitted from the black tortoise divine shell caused spatial cracks to appear in the surrounding void. The aura was that of a supreme being. Then, a strange scene appeared. The huge golden dragon phantom immediately revealed fear as it faced the black tortoise divine shell that was flying towards it. The phantom's body trembled as if it did not dare to move forward. It was an instinctive deep fear. Walala! The black tortoise's divine shell unfurled in midair like a canopy in the sky. As the shadow of the tortoise and snake fell, the shadow of the golden dragon began to crack and dissipate. It shattered and finally revealed the brilliant horn of the true dragon. The true dragon's horn was enveloped by the black tortoise divine shell. Then, under the ink-black light, the black tortoise divine shell shrunk and wrapped around it. The dazzling light was covered, and it was quietly taken away. No, this is impossible. Long San still had not recovered from his shock. He roared loudly and unwillingly. His black dragon eyes were lifeless, as if he had seen the most unbelievable thing. Logically speaking, no one in the Divine Dominion would be able to do anything to the Dragon Clan's greatest treasure, the horn of the true dragon that he had activated. However, at this moment, it had been taken away by the mutant dragon's shell. Roar! Little Xingxing's huge body appeared. Golden flames were burning in his eyes, and he carried all kinds of terrifying pressure. He pierced through the void like an arrow and directly collided with Long San. At this moment, that huge body was an invincible and terrifying attack to little Xingxing. On the huge golden dragon's body, a terrifying aura spread out in a ring shape. Everywhere it passed, the space would suddenly shatter. It pierced through the void and violently collided with Long San's black dragon body. Bang, 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 bang. The muffled sound was like thunder. Long San's huge body could not withstand such a collision. It was as if his physical body was about to be shattered. The surrounding void was exploding. His dragon tail violently flipped and destroyed everything. Roar, 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 roar. Long San screamed miserably. When Twinkle Star collided with him, the black dragon scales at the point of collision began to crack. Everything turned into dazzling black light and shattered runes that rippled outwards. Puff! Some of the dragon scales shattered. Long San's ferocious mouth immediately spat out dragon blood. Especially at the point of collision, it was dripping with blood. Little Xingxing's main body flapped its wings, and surging flames covered the sky. Long San's head was bleeding from the collision. His dragon scales were broken, and his flesh was badly mangled. However, his dragon body was not damaged at all. It was shining brightly, and a terrifying aura of a true dragon was released. That terrifying aura made Long San's dragon soul palpitate. It was a feeling that came from the depths of his dragon soul and bloodline that could not be resisted. Continue, little Xingxing shouted. His dragon body was smaller than Long San's black dragon body. However, at this moment, he was incomparably valiant. His huge tail flipped and broke through the void. It was unknown when the enlarged black tortoise divine shell was outlined on his huge tail. Like a stone, he ruthlessly smashed Long San's back. Buzz! The black tortoise divine shell was like one of the hardest divine objects in the world. When little Xingxing smashed it, it was like a meteorite had crashed down. The dragon scales on Long San's black dragon back exploded inch by inch. His flesh was badly mangled, dragon blood splattered, and his dragon tail and head were flipped. Roar, roar! Long San howled miserably. His voice was mournful and frightening. It made people feel a chill down their spines. That little dragon girl must be Du Xiaofu's biological daughter. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so savage. At this moment, Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, and the others in the void all clicked their tongues. That huge and strange divine shell fell on Long San's back like a meteor. Even though they were watching from afar, they still felt a sense of fear and pain. Chapter 1683. Qi amidst Long San's miserable wails, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. A cold smile appeared on his face, and a supreme pressure spread out from his palm. The roars of dragons and tigers, as well as the roars of lions and phoenixes, could be heard. Roar! A terrifying aura erupted as Du Xiaofu's palm was covered with a mystical seal. A golden-winged rock phantom emerged, shining with golden light and flickering with silver-yellow lightning. When the phantom of the golden-winged rock descended, a monstrous pressure that all beasts were unable to resist spread out. Under such pressure, the beast souls of countless demon beasts trembled violently. The shrieking Long San was instantly filled with fear. That frightening pressure caused even his dragon soul to tremble. His entire body trembled. He was actually completely suppressed. Blood Soul Seal. Bang! Du Xiaofu's palm landed directly on Long San's ferocious head. Amidst the roars of dragons, phoenixes, lions, and tigers, Du Xiaofu's palm imprint transformed into a mass of golden light and ferociously smashed down. Du Xiaofu didn't want to use the beast controlling technique, but directly used the blood soul seal to deal with Long San. With Long San's cultivation and strength, it was obviously not easy for him to forcefully set up a beast-controlling technique. It was also not suitable for him to do so at this moment. However, if he used the blood soul seal as an attack, he would be able to suppress the demonic beasts. Pucci, the attack of the blood soul seal was more aimed at the soul. Long San's eyes instantly turned dull, and he spat out blood. Boom! Bang! Du Xiaofu struck again. His aura swept out, causing the void to ripple. His tall and straight body was covered with rolling pressure. His fist fiercely landed on Long San's ferocious dragon head. There was a burst of lightning and a supreme pressure that swept out. Bang, bang, bang. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, Du Xiaofu ruthlessly punched several times in succession, each of his punches cracking the space between Long San's eyebrows. Rumble. In the midst of the lightning, Du Xiaofu's every punch made Long San's body shrink inch by inch. The black dragon scales on its body cracked and became dim. Roar. When Long San's eyes were no longer lifeless and he was screaming, his huge body was crushed by Du Xiaofu's attack and turned into a snake that was dozens of feet long. Then, he was caught in Du Xiaofu's hand like a huge python, and he didn't even have the chance to self-detonate. Long San is finished. The descendants of the dragons that entered the divine domain have all been killed. Su Yangzi, Mo Runin, and the others clicked their tongues inwardly. Long San was probably done for. With Du Xiaofu's character, it was unlikely that he would spare Long San. On the stone platform in the plaza, Moksha and Jialo Jimmy raised their heads to look at Du Xiaofu, their eyes flashing with lightning. Jiangxin stood quietly, gazing at Du Xiaofu in the air. His jet-black eyes glowed with arrogance and depth, but they were also mesmerizing. Bastard, that bastard is too cunning. He actually escaped from me. In the distance, Du Xiaoyao transformed into his human form and clutched half of a dragon's horn. The horn was forked like a deer's and was clearly different from Long Sea's true dragon horn. It had been plucked from the Sea Serpent King's head. Du Xiaoyao also clutched a handful of red mane, the red mane that grew from the Sea Serpent King's neck to its back. Just now, Du Xiaoyao had suppressed the Sea Serpent King, but in the end, the Sea Serpent King spat out a dazzling array of talisman runes that enveloped the sky and transformed into countless phantoms and visions. Then, the Sea Serpent King escaped from Du Xiaoyao's suppression. Damned bastard. Don't fall into my hands again. Du Xiaoyao was depressed and a bit frantic. He'd lost face by letting the Sea Serpent King escape. Rumor has it that the Sea Serpent King has incredible talent. The dragon breath it spits out can transform into all kinds of phantoms, causing different creatures to fall into different illusions and affect their primordial spirits. Du Xiaoyao was too careless. In the distance, Zhou Xiaoluo smiled faintly. Dad, it's about time. Little Xingxing's true form vanished, and she transformed into a harmless little girl. She scanned the surroundings and smiled innocently. Du Xiaofu lifted Long San, who was on the verge of death, and looked up into the sky. At the moment, the most intense battle was between his drunkard father and Gongsun Wuji. Qi Yeshi, Su Muxin, Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, Jialo Jueyu, Jialo Kaling, the disciples of the Du family, and Zhun Qingchun were slaughtering everyone on the battlefield. The school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, dragons, and the ancient demon beasts were almost completely wiped out. The battle was coming to an end, and all that was left was to wrap things up. The remaining disciples of the school of legalism and the disciples of the school of vertical and horizontal were only struggling in fear. The battle between Du Tingxian and Gongsun Wuji in the sky above the battlefield that had caused space to become chaotic and the earth to shatter. At this moment, everyone's attention was on the battlefield. Du Tingxuan's dazzling spear was like a dragon emerging from the world. His lightning figure gave off a sense of destructive power. Kill. Du Tingxian launched a ferocious attack. His eyes were like two seas of lightning, and his hair fluttered behind him like surging electric arcs. With the support of the Grand Sovereign's strength, the power that rippled from his body made the surrounding space tremble for no reason. Kill. Gongsun Wuji bellowed. Endless flames gushed out from his body like an erupting volcano, shrouding the surroundings. The sword intent in his hand cut through the void and engaged in a fierce battle with Du Tingxian. The battle between the two gave off a feeling that they were evenly matched. What a terrifying attack. It seems like they are evenly matched. Gongsun Wuji's Pal Soul is a spiritual volcano that can devour the power of volcanoes to strengthen itself. How terrifying. Du Tingxuan's Pal Soul seems to have not been used yet. I wonder what it is. Everyone in the square below spoke. They were shocked to see the battle between Du Tingxian and Gongsun Wuji. Gongsun Wuji has reached the pinnacle of the nirvana realm of the true self, while Du Tingxian has only broken through to the nirvana realm of the true self in the divine dominion. If they are at the same level, Du Tingxian should be more powerful. Moreover, Du Tingxian seems to have not used his pulse soul yet. Someone pondered. At such a level of battle, any slight difference could be infinitely magnified and even become a fatal blow. They are both very strong. I'm afraid there are not many people present who can contend with such combat strength. Someone spoke in shock. At this moment, the battle between Du Tingxian and Gongsun Wuji made it difficult for them to calm down. The creatures present were all geniuses of the world and had always had their own pride. However, at this moment, when they saw the battle between Du Tingxian and Gongsun Wuji, their eyes were filled with shock and their hearts were trembling. There were also creatures who were watching the battle with surging emotions. Their eyes were filled with divine light. Such a battle between supreme beings could bring them good fortune. The sword light pierced the sky, and the lightning spear swept across the sky. The speed of the battle in the void was as fast as lightning, causing the space to explode and the void to collapse. Rumble. Flames swept across the sky and collided with the lightning. There was a mist rising as if stars were colliding. Countless meteorites streaked across the sky. Du Xiaofu was also watching closely. Gongsun Wuji's cultivation and strength were not inferior to Qin Wudi's. Even the sword in Gongsun Wuji's hand was extraordinary. It was a true saint weapon. However, looking at the situation, Du Xiaofu knew that his drunkard father was fighting head-on. That was the battle between Gongsun Wuji and his drunkard father. Du Xiaofu did not intend to interfere. The grudge between them was related to more than 20 years ago. They needed to resolve it themselves. Du Xiaofu also believed that his drunkard father could resolve it himself. The two fought until the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The void sank. Under the gazes of many people, the final moment finally came. Kill. Gongsun Wuji was extraordinary. The lava around him surged like a ferocious fire beast. Endless volcanoes erupted, and a blazing aura surged. The sword chi in his hand was like a rainbow. The mysterious runes on the talisman burst forth. The supreme power swept out and gathered into a supreme attack. Chapter 1684. This attack was too terrifying. It was Gongsun Wuji's all-out attack. Blazing flames surged like a tsunami, sweeping across the sky and earth. Dazzling flame runes surged. Below the void, the mountain peak far away from the square was also collapsing. Bang, bang, bang. Large amounts of mountain peaks exploded and turned into ashes. Then, they were covered by rolling lava. Heaven and earth were collapsing, and the void was collapsing. This scene was too terrifying. At this moment, Gongsun Wuji's figure was hidden in the surging lava. It was as if he had turned into a giant. His eyes were like a blazing sea of fire, burning faintly. Blazing runes intertwined with each other. It was indescribably terrifying. The sword in his hand also unleashed countless sword rays. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The sword rays swept across the sky along with the lava. Every sword ray was monstrous, piercing through the universe and slicing through space. Countless sword rays intertwined and slashed towards Du Tingxian. It was a dense and terrifying sword rain. Countless sword rays filled with runes intertwined and shrouded the void. It contained a terrifying profundity and might, and also contained a kind of sword Tao. It was a strange and spectacular sight, and even more terrifying. The sword rays swept across, and the lava surged like waves. It filled the universe and destroyed the world. It's too terrifying. Gongsun Wuji's strength is too terrifying. He's even stronger than Qin Wudi. The faces of the people watching the battle from the square below and in the void started to turn pale. Quite a number of Nirvana stage sovereigns involuntarily tensed their bodies. As they watched from afar, they could also sense an incomparably vast and terrifying destructive attack that could not be blocked. At this moment, even Du Xiaofu was a little nervous. Gongsun Wuji's attack was too powerful. However, Du Xiaofu wasn't worried. They were connected by blood. He couldn't feel any disorder or haste from his drunkard father. Du Xiaofu also didn't feel any fear or panic from his drunkard father's lightning eyes. Instead, he felt a kind of determination and sharpness in his drunkard father's eyes. Du Xiaofu could also feel that Du Tingshuan's thunder martial vein, which belonged to the Du family, was starting to boil. What's next must be drunkard dad's strongest attack. Du Xiaofu stared at the void in front of him. His eyes flickered and glowed. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's hand seals condensed, and a large number of ancient runes seeped out from his body. Like a rain of light, they sprinkled in the surroundings and filled the vast space, causing the space to change quietly. Bastard. That little bastard is too hateful. That little bastard is ruining the fortune of legalism. He must be killed. Above the Qianhuang mainland, below the divine domain, within the legalism troops entrenched on the mountain peaks and in the void, those legalism experts and elders were still mourning over Qin Wudi's death. They were all burning with anger and heartbroken. Gongsun Hua, Long Tongue, and the other experts from the House of Dragons and House of Hong were not far away. At this moment, their faces were solemn. They felt vaguely uneasy and worried that something might happen. Whoosh whoosh, in the divine domain, there were also disciples from the Desolate Nation, Imo family, and Yinyang school who were sent out by the protective talismans. However, they continued to enter the divine domain. What happened in there? An elder from the House of Hong could not stand the uneasiness and worry. He shouted at the disciples from the Desolate Nation, Imo family, and Yinyang school. The disciples from the Imo family and Yinyang school were fine and ignored the people from the House of Hong. Old man, come in if you dare. I'll kill you. However, the disciples from the Desolate Nation were different, especially those from the Du family and Heavenly Beast Hall. They raised their middle fingers and did not show any mercy to the elders from the House of Hong before entering the divine domain. Little bastard! The elders from the House of Hong were so angry that their faces turned red. They shouted in anger, but there was nothing they could do. Whoosh whoosh! Suddenly, there was a fluctuation in the void. Under the gazes of the people from the Qianhuang mainland, a large patch of the void was revealed in the divine domain. Above the void, there were strange scenes of lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. Boom! There were waves of rocks and sword radiance intertwining with each other. The supreme force swept across. Even though they were separated by the void, the experts on the Qianhuang mainland could still feel the terrifying destructive power. That's Gongsun Wuji from my family. He's the one who attacked. Even though the violent attacks had drowned Gongsun Wuji's figure, the people from the House of Hong immediately recognized him. It was Gongsun Wuji from the House of Hong who attacked. What a terrifying aura. That should be Gongsun Wuji from the House of Hong. I can't believe he's so powerful. Gongsun Wuji is also a Nirvana Realm Grand Supreme. 30 years ago, he was known as the strongest genius in the world in thousands of years. He's at the pinnacle of Nirvana Realm. Gongsun Wuji is indeed powerful. In an instant, many people from the various major factions in the Qianhuang mainland recognized Gongsun Wuji. Although the powerful attacks had drowned everything, there were many top experts who recognized the House of Hong and Heng's techniques and guessed Gongsun Wuji's identity. In an instant, the entire place was in an uproar. The one fighting Gongsun Wuji seems to be Du Tingxian. Du Tingxian is indeed a Nirvana Realm Grand Supreme. He's fighting Gongsun Wuji. The experts from the surrounding immediately realized that the one fighting Gongsun Wuji was Du Tingxian. He was the terrifying person who had crippled his own cultivation and entered the divine domain to recultivate. Can Du Tingxian resist Gongsun Wuji? Gongsun Wuji's strength should be at the limit of the divine domain. Can Du Tingxian resist? Gongsun Wuji has the heavenly fire tower. That's the treasure of the house of Hong and Hong. All the experts on the Chanhuang continent were moved. At that moment, Gongsun Wuji's terrifying attack swept through the air like a tidal wave, viciously crushing Du Tingxian. Clang, 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 clang. Countless sword radiances intertwined and exploded. The talisman sword radiances attacked Du Tingxian endlessly, causing many people to gasp. However, at this moment, bright lightning talisman runes rushed out from Du Tingxuan's body. The lightning arcs were so dazzling that no one could look directly at them. Only the top experts could see that the endless sword radiances had swept through Du Tingxian. Amidst the sparks and electric arcs, they didn't really hurt Du Tingxian. How can Du Tingxuan's defense be so strong? The elders from the house of Hong and Hong were shocked. They couldn't believe that Gongsun Wuji's sword radiances had been blocked. Even if others didn't know, the elders from the house of Hong and Hong knew very well that Gongsun Wuji's swordsmanship had already reached the perfection realm. That level of swordsmanship was already unparalleled. In addition, Gongsun Wuji's all-out attack contained the power of a great sovereign and the endless techniques of the house of Hong and Hong and Hong. It was enough to destroy everything. It could be said that no one in the same generation could match Gongsun Wuji's current attack. Whoosh whoosh, the endless sword radiances attacked, but they were all blocked. Du Tingxuan's dazzling lightning arcs were withstanding the sword radiances. Du Tingxian blocked it. At this moment, whether it was the square in front of the tomb of the Supreme Being or the Chanhuang mainland, there were people exclaiming in shock. Du Tingxian had blocked the terrifying sword radiances. Rumble, rumble. The earth-shattering rock flows were like the eruption of a volcano. Destruction engulfed Du Tingxuan's body with terrifying power. The scene was horrifying, as if it was going to burn everything in the world. However, Du Tingxian stood in the void. His body was majestic and motionless, like the Emperor of Thunder. Whoosh whoosh, when the rolling rock flows engulfed Du Tingxuan's body, they strangely scattered to the sides. Everyone was shocked. Everything was too unbelievable. Sword-slashing art. Gongsun Wuji's shout was like thunder. Amidst the roaring rock flows, his last sword radiance slashed down. This sword slashed through the void. It contained the power of a great sovereign, accompanied by a vision of heaven and earth. The sword radiance was boundless, and the heat was suffused with mist. Du Tingxian moved. He raised his left arm and went up. As the lightning exploded, Du Tingxuan's lightning palm, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, caught the sword in the blink of an eye. The sword radiance shattered, revealing Gongsun Wuji's heavenly flame tower. The sword's body was trembling, as if it was under immense pressure. At this moment, the dazzling lightning radiance on Du Tingxuan's body dissipated, revealing his true body. However, at this moment, Du Tingxuan's body was covered by a resplendent lightning armor. This lightning armor was filled with lightning and had a misty aura lingering around it. It was tightly attached to Du Tingxuan's body. Du Tingxuan's palm was also covered with the lightning armor. He grabbed Gongsun Wuji's heavenly flame tower with one hand. Lightning exploded within the armor and wrapped around Gongsun Wuji's heavenly flame tower. At this moment, Gongsun Wuji's figure was half revealed from the rock flows behind him. His expression changed. He was shocked and unwilling to accept this. This is impossible. Impossible, Gongsun Wuji bellowed. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and madness. Terrifying energy swept out. Blazing runes shone brightly as he activated the heavenly flame tower in his hand with all his might. However, a scene that shocked Gongsun Wuji happened. He could no longer move the heavenly flame tower in his hand. Du Tingxian raised his head. His lightning radiance eyes were extremely sharp. Killing intent surged out as the dazzling lightning spear in his hand swept out. At this moment, the lightning runes, supremacy force, and the power of the Du family's lightning martial vein intertwined together to form a spear. It swept out towards Gongsun Wuji. Boom! The moment this spear appeared, the wind and clouds changed. The void trembled, and heaven and earth lost their color. There was a strange phenomenon in the sky. His speed was too fast, and Du Tingxian had long since been prepared. His spear pierced through the air, piercing straight into Gongsun Wuji's forehead. The dazzling lightning spear pierced through Gongsun Wuji's forehead. Blood spurted out from the back of his head. Blood spurted high into the sky, accompanied by electric arcs. PFFF. Gongsun Wuji spat out a mouthful of blood onto Du Tingxuan's armor. His body then staggered back a few steps. He opened his palm and weakly let go of the heavenly flame tower in his hand. At this moment, Gongsun Wuji's eyes were a little dazed. There was a complicated expression of confusion and unwillingness. I didn't kill you because you wanted to kill me. I respect your infatuation with Ao Tong. At this moment, Du Tingxian looked at Gongsun Wuji in front of him and said slowly, I killed you because you wanted to touch my son. Whoever touches my son, I will kill them. Do you understand? As soon as he finished speaking, his voice spread throughout the divine domain and the Qianhuang mainland. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Du Tingxian waved his hand and pulled the long lightning spear out from Gongsun Wuji's forehead. Electric arcs sizzled as blood flew high into the air. The sovereign blood turned into a rain of blood, and light poured down from the sky. Around the square in the divine domain and in the void of the Qianhuang mainland, countless people were dumbfounded. They felt a chill down their spines. No, no, don't. Bang, bang. Accompanied by the heart-wrenching cries of the elders from the school of vertical and horizontal, Gongsun Wuji's body cracked from his forehead. Lightning exploded and turned into a rain of blood. His soul was shattered and turned into ashes. Gongsun Wuji was completely dead. Du Tingxian, the school of vertical and horizontal will destroy your entire Du family. Gongsun Hua roared angrily. His eyes were like fire. His words were filled with killing intent. When they landed in the ears of the surrounding people, it was like a gust of cold wind. The killing intent was bone-chilling. Everyone could hear that Gongsun Hua of the school of vertical and horizontal was thoroughly enraged. Gongsun Wuji's death was a price the school of vertical and horizontal could not bear. It was equivalent to destroying the fortunes of the entire school of vertical and horizontal. It was enough to cause the school of vertical and horizontal to decline for thousands of years. Are you afraid? As soon as he finished speaking, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in the void again. This time, he appeared beside Du Tingxian. At this moment, the Demon King father and son stood together, ancient runes rippling in the void around them. Du Xiaofu, that's enough. Let go of Long San and we can talk. Du Xiaofu, let's talk. All of a sudden, from the dragon race's formation, numerous terrified shouts rang out. The black dragon that Du Xiaofu had captured in his hand made all the members of the dragon race tremble in fear, their dragon souls uneasy. That was Long San. How could the members of the dragon clan not recognize him? They trembled in fear. Long San was the hope of the dragon's clan. He was a nirvana supreme. Given Long San's cultivation base and the fact that he had the horn of a true dragon on him, none of these powerful beings of the dragon race could imagine how Long San had been captured. But no matter what, all the dragon's clan elites knew that Long San could not die even if Long Si, Long Wu, and the others were dead. The dragon's clan could not bear such a price. It's Long San. He's also been captured by Du Xiaofu. Many beastmen on the Qianhuang mainland exclaimed in shock as they recognized Long San. Why didn't you think of talking when you wanted to kill me? I've said it before. Those who provoke me will have to pay the price. As soon as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, he slapped the space between Long San's eyebrows with his hand. The lightning was destroyed, and Long San's dragon soul was directly shattered. The pupils of Long San's black dragon body constricted. In the end, he shut his eyes in horror. Bastard! I, the dragon's clan, will fight to the death with your Du clan. Long Tung roared. The dragon shadows around him were deafening. Voila! But at this moment, the ancient runes fluctuated in the void above. Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu gradually disappeared. We must kill that little bastard. We must kill that pair of father and son. We will fight to the death. Seeing the father and son disappear, the elders from the school of vertical and horizontal, Dragon's clan, and Legalism clan all shouted angrily. Their eyes were trembling and bloodshot. They're all dead. They're all dead. How could this be? Has our luck really come to an end? Pucci, Some elders from the school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and Dragon's clan were also vomiting blood. Many elders from the school of legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and Dragon's clan had bloodshot eyes. Their bodies were trembling and their eyes were tearing up. They could not bear such a price. Huff, huff. All the experts on the Qianhuang mainland sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were still trembling. They were unable to regain their senses for a long time. The school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and Dragon's clan have completely lost this time. Not only have they lost, they should have been completely wiped out. After thousands of years of nurturing, generations of selection, and countless resources, they were all killed by Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu. With such a huge loss, it's normal for the school of legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and Dragon's clan to vomit blood. This old man has lived for thousands of years. This is the first time I've seen such a powerful and cruel father and son. Some elders and demonic beast experts were discussing in low voices. Even they were lamenting. Du Tingshuan's armor seems to have come from that terrifying existence, and that lightning spear. If I'm not wrong, it might be the inheritance of that terrifying existence. Du Tingxian really did obtain it. Then, some of the top experts in the world began to talk about Du Tingshuan's lightning armor and lightning spear. In the divine dominion, the living beings around the supreme tomb square looked at the sky and trembled violently. In the void, the middle-aged man in the lightning armor was too shocking. Chapter 1685. What a pair of Demon King father and son. They're too scary. Du Tingxian is also so strong. Everyone in the square was shocked. The Demon King was already terrifying enough, but who would have thought that the Demon King's father was also so shocking? On the stone platform, Moksha looked up, his eyes also flashing with electricity. In midair, Du Xiaofu looked at the thunder armor on his drunkard father and the thunder spear in his hand. His eyes twitched as he thought of the 3 treasures of Jinlei Tensei. It was rumored that Jinlei Tensei had 3 treasures, an armor, a weapon, and the 9 Revolutions Divine Lei Lian. The 9 Revolutions Divine Lei Lian could help him comprehend the mysteries of thunder whenever he wanted. Du Xiaofu guessed that the dazzling thunder spear and thunder armor in his drunkard father's hands might be the other 2 treasures of Jinlei Tensei. These are the thunder armor and thunder spear. They were left behind by your grandmaster, Jinlei Tensei. Feeling Du Xiaofu's gaze, Du Tingxian said to Du Xiaofu as he gradually withdrew the thunder armor and thunder spear into his body. Du Xiaofu smiled. It looked like his drunkard father had indeed received the true inheritance of Jinlei Tensei. Since his drunkard father's master was Jinlei Tensei, he was naturally one of Du Xiaofu's grandmasters. Drip, as the thunder armor was withdrawn, Du Xiaofu saw that his drunkard father's face was pale. His left palm was cracked and blood was flowing out. Dark red blood was also flowing out of the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he had paid a huge price to kill Gongsun Wuji. Bang, bang, bang. There were still scattered sonic booms in the distant void, but everything was coming to an end. Legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, dragons, and ancient demon beasts saw that Qin Wudi, Long San, Gongsun Wuji, and the Sea Serpent King had either died or fled. They were already being slaughtered. Now, they felt even more despair. We are willing to submit. In the end, only 2 Grand Domain Realmarchian Remnant Demonic Beasts and several Sealed Domain Realmarchian Remnant Demonic Beasts remained. Under the persuasion of Deng Hu, Qilong, Xiangfeng, Yunzhan, and the others, they were willing to submit. All right, I accept. Du Xiaofu nodded and accepted the submission of these ancient demonic beasts. As for the disciples of the school of dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal, under the siege of the various major powers, all of them suffered a bloodbath. Not a single one of them managed to escape. Although the major forces and the desolate nation had paid a hefty price and lost many people, they all had life-saving talismans. Walala! The Phantom and the Blood Vine Demon took the opportunity to devour the evil blood aura in the void. These were the evil blood aura and remnant souls left behind by the school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and dragons. To them, It was definitely a great benefit. Behind Emo Sha, there were quite a few pairs of eyes that were filled with demonic chi that were burning hot. To them, the baleful blood chi was also extremely beneficial. However, Moksha did not move, and neither did they. Father, how is Xiaojing? In a corner of the square, Du Xiaofu came to Du Xiaojing's side. At this moment, Du Xiaojing was sitting cross-legged. His body was shrouded in dazzling purple lightning arcs and mysterious purple lightning talisman patterns. That was the Du family's thunder martial vein. There are some things related to the Du family. I'll tell you in detail later. Xiaojing is fine. Instead, he has gained great benefits. He is awakening the Du family's hidden martial vein in his body, Du Tingxian said seriously. Du Xiaofu nodded and did not ask further. He had long felt that the Du family was not simple. From the martial vein in his body, he could tell that they were not a small family. Perhaps they had a glorious history. You are my father's father. Should I call you grandpa? But you are too young. Little Xingxing came to Du Xiaofu's side. She lifted her head and looked at Du Tingxian curiously. This little girl is not simple. Du Tingxian patted little Xingxing's head and smiled. Uncle Tingxian, Uncle Tingxian. Third uncle. Easy Jean, Du Xiaoman, Du Yunlong, Du Yu, Du Shui, Du Gue, and many others came forward. After ending the fierce battle, they gathered around happily. Not bad at all. Du Tingxian smiled and glanced at the Du family members. He did not hide his admiration. The Du family was no longer what it used to be. Uncle Tingxian, Uncle Tingxian. Ouyang Shuang bowed. She had never seen Du Tingxian before, but her father and mother had a brotherly relationship with this peerless middle-aged man in front of her. Du Tingxian looked at Ouyang Shuang. Before the surrounding people said anything, he recognized her. He was slightly surprised and smiled. I know who you are. How are your parents? Uncle Tingxian, father and mother are doing well. Ouyang Shuang turned her head and did not dare to raise her head. She was inexplicably nervous. Little girl Shuang, shouldn't you change the way you address me? Du Xiaoman smiled and teased. Sister Xiaoman. Ouyang Shuang's cheeks flushed red. She was no longer like before. She quietly retreated to Du Xiaofu, Xiaoqing, and Dai Xingyu. Ha ha ha. Good. This is what it means to be even closer. How could Du Tingxian not see it? He knew it when he saw Ouyang Shuang and Du Xiaofu's reaction. He was very happy. She was Ouyang Ling and Yuan Shanshan's daughter. How could he not agree? This was increasing their relationship. Not far away, Dongli Qingqing, Sumu Xin, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan stood and looked at the group of people who were laughing. Du Xiaofu looked at Ouyang Shuang, Sumu Xin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan. His eyes were filled with emotions. Sumu Xin and Dongli Qingqing were his women. How could Du Xiaofu not know what Qi Yeshi and Sima Muhan had done for him? Ouyang Shuang's big eyes followed Du Xiaofu's gaze. Her eyes were filled with emotions. Then, a smile that could topple countries appeared on her peerless face. She gently said to Du Tingxian, who was talking to Du Xiaoman and Du Yunlong, Uncle Tingxian, let me introduce you to a few friends who have been helping Xiaofu. Du Tingxuan's eyes twitched. He smiled and said, Okay. Du Xiaofu was stunned. Ouyang Shuang had already brought Du Tingxian over and introduced Sumu Xin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan. It seems to be a bit chaotic. Brother. Du Xiaoyao and Du Xiaoqing both looked at Du Xiaofu. They were a bit nervous for Du Xiaofu. Little Tiger Du looked at Du Xiaofu with his pure black eyes and asked, Third young master, should we do something? It's already a mess. If we die, then we die. Let's cut the Gordian knot. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. He told someone to look after his sister, Xiaojing, and also walked over. Hahuan School's sect master, Great Luan sect master, Yinyang School's holy maiden, Ancient Heaven sect's young miss. Under Ouyang Shuang's introduction, Du Tingxian got to know Sumu Xin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan. Father, these two are your daughters. Du Xiaofu appeared and directly pulled Sumu Xin and Dongli Qingqing to Du Tingxian. Sumu Xin and Dongli Qingqing were stunned. They were already a bit embarrassed, but at this moment, it was undoubtedly even more embarrassing. Their delicate faces immediately flushed red. They were completely stunned. Yishi and Muhan both saved my life. Without them, I'm afraid I would have died long ago. I've always protected your son. Then, Du Xiaofu looked at Qi Yeshi and Sima Muhan and said to Du Tingxian. Du Tingxian looked at Du Xiaofu, then looked at Qi Yeshi, Sima Muhan, Dongli Qingqing, Su Muxin, and Ouyang Shuang. He was not in a daze, but with a smile, he said to the 5 girls, "This is the first time we meet. As a man, I don't know what gift to give. These are some small things on me that can protect me at a critical moment. You all take them first, and the rest of the gift will be given by his mother in the future. However, if this brat betrays you in the future, tell me, and I'll take care of him." When his voice fell, many palm-sized brocade boxes floated out of Du Tingxuan's Chinkuan bag. They were filled with the aura of lightning and landed in front of the 5 girls. "Thank you, Uncle Tingxian." Ouyang Shuang was the first to receive it. Her cheeks were rosy and tender, making people want to take a bite. Su Muxin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan hesitated for a moment. They secretly glared at Du Xiaofu, but they all received the brocade boxes in front of them. "Thank you, Uncle." Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, Sima Muhan, and Su Muxin then bowed to Du Tingxian. Haha, Du Tingxuan's face was full of smiles. "Junior disciple, it seems like this matter is settled. In the future, the seniority will be yours and mine. It doesn't matter." On the stone platform in the square, Gu Qingyang patted Sima, taking Xing's shoulder, and looked forward with a smile. His 2 protruding teeth were especially eye-catching. This, Sima taking Xing's side. His deep glass-like eyes were filled with ripples. He suddenly felt a little reluctant in his heart. "Uncle, what is this?" Ouyang Shuang opened the brocade box in her hand. Electric arcs rippled, and a dazzling rune flew out. There were talisman runes that were dazzling to the eye, and lightning surged. A lightning ball the size of a baby's fist appeared in the brocade box. A destructive energy surged out. "Girl, quickly close it." Du Tingxuan's face changed and immediately said to Ouyang Shuang. Ouyang Shuang had already closed the brocade box in her hand when she sensed the destructive energy. That destructive energy had caused her heart to violently tremble. Chapter 1686. Although it's just a small toy, once it explodes, even a sealed domain realm cultivator's soul will be destroyed. Even a grand domain realm cultivator will be severely injured if they don't die. Du Tingxian said to Ouyang Shuang, "In the divine domain, the power of this item will be suppressed, but if it explodes, the shock waves will not be small. Is this a divine lightning bullet?" Qi Yeshi exclaimed. She recalled a terrifying item in the legends. As expected of a Yinyang schoolgirl, this is indeed a divine lightning bullet. Du Tingxian smiled. "It's really a terrifying item." Qi Yeshi clicked her tongue. "What's the origin of the divine lightning bullet?" Ouyang Shuang asked curiously. "It's rumored that the divine lightning bullet was created by Jinlei Tensei. It's said that it uses spiritual lightning as a trigger. Once it explodes, it can directly kill experts. If a large number of divine lightning bullets explode, no one will dare to block it," said Qi Yeshi. "It must be fun. Grandpa, I want it too." Little Xingxing didn't plan to let go of such a fun item and immediately asked for it. "Okay." Du Tingxian smiled and took out 2 brocade boxes, giving them to little Xingxing. Then, he waved his sleeve and a brocade box appeared in front of Du Xiaoman. "Easy Jean, Dai Xingyu, Du Xiaoqing, and Du Shui." He said, "There are 12 in total. I don't have any more." "Thank you, Uncle Tingxian." Easy Jean, Dai Xingyu, and the others happily received the brocade boxes. Not far away, Zishuan returned to the Phoenix clan's formation and stood quietly. She was tall and slender, with a pair of slender legs that made her look even more beautiful. Du Xiaofu looked at Zishuan and then at Moksha from the Devil Religion. "Jueju, you're here too?" In front of the stone platform, Jialo Kaling gracefully walked over. She saw Jialo Jueju, her younger brother. "Anyone can enter the divine domain. I no longer have anything to do with the golden-winged great rocks. Go back." Jialo Jumi walked out. The black hair behind his head had a silky luster, and his temperament gave off the noble aura of a prince. However, his eyes were like jet-black agate, incomparably deep. "Grandma is still waiting for you to go back." Jalo Kaling continued to speak. The golden brilliance in her eyes surged, and her tall and slender body trembled slightly. Ripples appeared in Jalo Jumi's deep eyes. His black robe and black hair moved slightly. His nose was straight, and his skin was like jade. However, his expression was still calm and indifferent. He looked familiar yet strange at the same time. He said to Jalo Kaling, "Sister, go back. I have nothing to do with the clan anymore." "Young clan leader, they seem to be people from the devil religion. Ju Qi is with them." Jalo Jueyu stood beside Du Xiaofu. Back when he was outside the territory of the golden-winged great rocks, he had fought with some people from the devil religion and felt the aura of the devil religion. "It is indeed the devil religion." Du Xiaofu looked at Moksha and the others from afar. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared from where he was standing. Qi. When Du Xiaofu's figure reappeared, he was already standing beside Jalo Kaling. He raised his head slightly and looked at Jalo Jumi. However, he didn't know what to say. Moksha looked at Du Xiaofu. On his exquisite face, there was a hint of playfulness in his smile. He said, "Why? Do you want to fight now?" "Where is my master?" Du Xiaofu stared at Moksha. "Your master, Xiahou Fenglei?" Moksha had a smile that was not a smile. The curve of his lips was rather perfect, and he was always smiling. However, this smile was dangerous and evil, causing the aura on his body to be very complicated. It was as if he already knew everything about Du Xiaofu. Just now, Du Xiaofu could shock everyone, but he couldn't shock Moksha. He smiled and said, "I can tell you that your master Xiahou Fenglei is not dead yet. His 3,000 Thunder Soul Seed must have fallen into your hands. In addition to the Silvernet Soul devouring thunder, you have a lot of spiritual thunder on you." Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and looked at Moksha. He said, "I think that with your status in the devil religion, it should be no problem for me to capture you in exchange for my master. It's the people of the devil religion." When the words devil religion came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, many people around the square changed their expressions, especially those from the School of Agriculture, School of Buddhism, and School of Taoism. The devil religion has appeared again. Many people's eyes lit up. At that moment, on the stone platform, Moksha didn't care about the gazes of the people around him. He looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile on his face and said, "If you think that you have the strength to defeat me, you can try. However, I have to remind you out of goodwill that even if you can defeat me, there aren't many people around you who can defeat me. The sovereign tomb is about to open. Let's wait until the very end. Only one of us can enter the final sovereign tomb." This Moksha seems to be very strong. Du Xiaoyao appeared beside Du Xiaofu and looked at Moksha with her golden spiritual eyes. Little Xingxing also appeared beside Du Xiaofu. On that innocent and harmless face, his eyes were looking at Moksha with a faint golden flame. He seemed to be ready to attack at any time. Phew! Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. Du Xiaofu was very clear about Moksha's strength. Back in the Tianhuang mainland, there was no clear victor. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt that Moksha was still emitting a dangerous aura. Du Xiaofu had a vague premonition that Moksha's dangerous aura far surpassed Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji. Then, looking at the disciples of the desolate country behind him, Du Xiaofu said to Du Xiaoyao, "Little Xingxing, and the others, the supreme tomb hasn't appeared yet. Let's roast some meat first. There's still a dragon to be stewed. It won't be nutritious if we wait too long." "All right, let's eat." Little Xingxing was hungry again, and the golden flame in his eyes slowly dissipated. Du Xiaofu turned around and left. Moksha still had a slight smile on his face. Then, he sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to rest. Even the Demon King seems to be wary of him. What kind of powerful existence is he? Moksha, I don't think I've heard of him before. It's rumored that Moksha has appeared in the Tianhuang mainland before. Someone spoke up and discussed Moksha. Since the Demon King and Du Xiaofu were wary of him, they couldn't help but take him seriously. As for the two words demonic sect, the more profound the background of a force, the more moved they would be. Lian Qingrong, fire cloud evil god, the green-clothed youth who was full of vitality, and the youth whose eyes were like hell were all looking at Emo Sha, intentionally or otherwise. Has the devil sect officially appeared in the world? They are a terrifying power that has been hidden very deeply. They have existed for a very long time and have caused huge waves in the past. In the village, an old woman said to the younger generation, her eyes filled with worry, "It's rumored that the devil religion has a great origin and has appeared before, but it was suppressed and disappeared. I didn't expect it to appear again." An old man from the Taoist school said, "The devil religion seems to be related to the great calamity of the world. The appearance of the devil religion isn't a good thing." In the Confucian school, an old man was also worried. He said to his juniors, "The devil religion is afraid of the 9 great families and some hidden existences. They didn't dare to show themselves and have been silent in the dark. Now that they have appeared, perhaps the great calamity of the world has already begun." Chapter 1687. Elder, if the devil religion is related to the great calamity of heaven and earth, why don't we act now? A young man and woman asked the old man. The 9 great families have restrictions. As long as the 9 divine lightning cauldrons don't appear, the 9 great families can't interfere with anything in the outside world. Besides, the devil religion is definitely not easy to deal with. It's not good to act in the divine domain. We'll discuss it when we return. An old man from the Emo family warned the Emo family disciples. On the stone platform, Moksha, who was sitting cross-legged, slightly opened his slightly closed eyes. He swept his gaze around, and some lightning flashed in his eyes. Then, he restrained himself and closed his eyes again, ignoring them. The mysterious purple-robed, green-bodied figure and Jialo Jumi also sat cross-legged behind Emo Sha. Both of them had their eyes closed and were resting their minds. After a while, the square was filled with the aroma of meat. In front of shocked and trembling eyes, many ancient demonic beasts and flood dragons around the square were cleaned by the Ghost Chariot, Phantom Tiger King, Violent Bear King, and the others, and turned into a pile of fragrant barbecued meat by Du Xiaofu. The barbecued meat was filled with energy, fluctuating with multicolored light and emitting a meat fragrance. As for Longsan's body, he was a descendant of a supreme nirvana true self nirvana realm true dragon. He was in Du Xiaofu's cauldron, and along with many spiritual herbs, he became a dragon bone treasure soup. In the multicolored light, there were mysterious runes of dragons. The treasure soup boiled, and a faint shadow of a black dragon roared. It was a shocking sight. The energy is too amazing. It's a treasure among treasures. More and more people in the square were amazed. Some of the old men from the 9 great families had their eyes wide open. Not to mention Long San's black dragon treasure soup, even the large pile of barbecued flood dragons and archaic demonic beast descendants on the huge barbecue table was definitely not ordinary barbecued meat. They all contained a shocking amount of energy. Eating a mouthful of them was like eating spirit herbs. "Do you want to eat?" Du Xiaofu asked Du Tingxian when the fragrance of the meat permeated the air and the dragon bone soup was boiling. Looking at the barbecued meat, Du Tingxian seemed to be reminiscing about something. He smiled at Du Xiaofu and said, "Of course, eat." Following Du Xiaofu's command, the disciples from the Desolate Country, Tian Country, 7-Star Hall, Tianwu Academy, Hahuan School, and Ancient Heaven Sect all rushed forward. "This is mine. I want to chew on the wings." Little Star plucked off a large wing of an archaic demonic beast and wolfed it down. Its small stomach was like a bottomless pit. Qi Yeshi, Dongli Qingqing, Ouyang Shuang, Easy Jean, Phantom, Du Shui, Jialo Kaling, and the others were all beautiful women, but at this moment, they were all stained with smoke and fire. The surrounding members of the 9 great clans simply could not believe that each and every one of those alluring women would actually have such a disregard for their image. "Don't blame me for not exposing my identity." Du Xiaofu carried a piece of barbecued meat to Qi Jiajun from the Yinyang family. Now that he knew Qi Jiajun's identity, he also knew that Qi Jiajun had helped him a lot in the Yinyang family. "Limitless brilliant star spear. You have to find an opportunity to return it to me." Qi Jejun smiled and took the barbecued meat without hesitation. He whispered to Du Xiaofu. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu secretly rolled his eyes, then nodded and said, "Okay, I'll find an opportunity to return it to you. Straightforward. Then I'll also help you and my sister at home. Don't worry." Qi Jejun patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder, very satisfied. Then, the two of them put their arms around each other's shoulders and mingled together. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but be startled when she saw this. Then, she smiled and asked the disciples from the Yinyang family to join in the barbecued meat. "Sister Xiaoluo, Brother Zhou, you guys eat some too. It tastes really good." Du Xiaoqing also pulled the people from the farmer's family over. The people from the Mo family were also pulled over by Sima Muhan. Just now, the people from the three great families were all eating, so now they were not polite. But when they tasted the barbecued meat, they were all moved. The disciples from the great families all lost their manners. Mo Runin and Zhou Xiaoluo, those two otherworldly women, were also pulled into the sea. When they saw Su Muxin, Jialo Kaling, Ouyang Shuang, and the others eating, they couldn't help but try it, and they couldn't stop themselves. As for the black dragon treasure soup, only a few people could drink it. Those who weren't strong enough didn't dare to touch it. That was a supreme nirvana dragon. Its supreme nirvana blood, dragon bones, and dragon meat were all stewed together in a pot. How shocking was the energy! Mo Runin and Zhou Xiaoluo couldn't help but taste the black dragon treasure soup in the end. Not to mention the taste of the black dragon treasure soup, just the soup made by the descendant of a supreme nirvana dragon was probably the only shop in the world. If they missed it this time, they probably wouldn't have the chance to taste it again in their lifetime. "Mother, you eat some too." Little Xingxing took a large pile of barbecued meat and black dragon treasure soup to the Phoenix clan's lineup and handed it to Zixuan. She didn't forget her godmother. There was a lot of barbecued meat, and the large pile of monster corpses was like a mountain in the distance. "Are you interested in eating some together?" Du Xiaofu ate the barbecued meat and drank the black dragon treasure soup. Then, he looked at the Taoist, Confucian, and Buddhist schools. There were familiar faces among them, including Heng Qi, Su Lingzi, Meng Wui, Yin Lihan, and the others who were defeated by him before. "I can't help it." Su Yangzi of the Taoist school spoke. He was the first to walk over. "Indeed, I can't help it. Let me try it too." Kong Sansi of the Confucian school shook his clothes and didn't stand on ceremony. "Umiba, thank you for your kindness. Benefactor Du, my school of Buddhism really can't touch me." The extraordinary young man leading the school of Buddhism said to Du Xiaofu, "Hongluan, your school of Buddhism is so troublesome." Kong Sansi had already eaten the barbecued meat and said to the young monk leading the legalism school of Buddhism impolitely, "It can't be helped. The school of Buddhism has clear rules and precepts. We must abide by them." The young monk called Hung Luin had a shining ring on his head. He looked at the many old monks beside him with a helpless gaze. All right then. Du Xiaofu didn't force the school of Buddhism. He was afraid that with the old monks present, the young monks wouldn't dare violate the rules. After all, back on Tianhuang continent, ninefold spirits had secretly eaten a lot. At this moment, all the schools of Buddhism had called out to Du Xiaofu, except for the school of Buddhism. This made the school of Buddhism's members' expressions turn cold and unsightly. Their expressions weren't very pleasant. Du Xiaofu didn't call out to Lian Qingrong. The black dragon treasure soup had great benefits, but with Lian Qingrong's cultivation and strength, there was no need to go that far. He had other arrangements. "Do you want a bite?" Du Xiaofu walked over to Jiangchen. "All right." Jiangchen smiled. His face was sharp and angular, and he didn't stand on ceremony. "Where have you been all these years?" "Cultivating." "How does the barbecued meat taste?" "Not bad." "How have you been all these years?" "Pretty good." The two of them chatted. Du Xiaofu asked questions, and Jiangchen answered. In the end, Du Xiaofu glared at Jiangchen, feeling a bit gloomy. Everyone talks about their own seniority. It has nothing to do with them. At some point, Sima Taxing had walked over with Du Tingxian. They sat in a corner of the stone platform, each of them pulling out a jug of wine and drinking from it. A bloody battle was supposed to be a public square where everyone should be on guard. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu had turned it into a barbecue party. Everyone was eating happily. A moment later, Du Xiaofu walked over to Du Tingxian and sat down on the edge of the platform. "What were you and my senior brother talking about just now?" he asked. Du Tingxian handed the jug of wine to Du Xiaofu. "He said his family's cabbage might have been eaten by my family's pig. He's a bit reluctant to part with it." "What cabbage? What pig?" Du Xiaofu took a sip of wine. He was a bit surprised, but at the moment, he felt nostalgic. The wine tasted right. He glanced at his sister, Xiao Jing, who was still awakening her martial meridians. The wine tasted even better. "I don't know if his family's cabbage was eaten by his pig," said Du Tingxian. "But even if my family's pig was eaten by someone else, he'd still get half of it." Du Xiaofu understood. He rolled his eyes at Du Tingxian, then handed over the jug of wine. "You did a good job." Du Tingxian took a sip, and there was a slight smell of alcohol on his body. However, it was clear that he was very happy today. Looking at the various factions, Taoists, and Confucians that Du Xiaofu had pulled over to eat meat and drink wine, he said to Du Xiaofu seriously, "Remember my words. No matter how strong you are, you can't allow yourself to be isolated. That is a very dangerous thing. No matter how strong you are, you can't support everything. You need people and friends by your side. The people by your side will make sure that you don't step on empty air, and your friends will be able to support you. No matter how strong a person is, he seems to be weak. A tree that stands out in the forest attracts the wind. When the wind is strong, it's easy to break the tree." "Yes, I understand." Du Xiaofu nodded seriously. Since childhood, it seemed that this was the first time he talked so seriously with his alcoholic father. "You did better than me," Du Tingxian said. Du Xiaofu looked at his sister, Xiao Jing, and said softly, "I've seen Mother. Your mother should be very happy, right?" Du Tingxuan's eyes flickered as he took a sip of wine. "Yes." Du Xiaofu nodded. When his mother was mentioned, he felt the fluctuation in his alcoholic father's heart. He knew that his alcoholic father must miss his mother more than him. After wolfing down the food on the square, many figures sat down cross-legged and began to refine the huge amount of energy in their bodies. With so many people together, there were people from many major forces present. They were not afraid that someone would secretly play tricks. Light filled the air, mysterious runes fluctuated, and many figures fluctuated. Zhou Xiaoluo, Mo Runan, Du Yunlong, Gurei Che, Jialo Jueyu, Little Xingxing, and the others who drank the Black Dragon treasure soup were also sitting cross-legged and adjusting their breath. The benefits contained in the Black Dragon treasure soup were definitely not small. Whoosh whoosh in the distance, there were still people coming over. They were all here to fight for the greatest opportunity in the Supreme Tomb. These creatures that arrived last felt the strange atmosphere in the square. They felt that something was wrong and strange. Bang bang. Roar. Soon after, new battles began in the square. The roars of beasts and sonic booms of energy could be heard constantly. Some forces and powerful demonic beasts were having the final showdown. They were fighting for the ownership of the remaining stone platforms. Whoever could get it first would have the upper hand. Chapter 1688. There were a total of 10 stone platforms. Originally, only Lian Qingrong, the green-robed youth, the hell-eyed black-robed youth, the dragons, the famed scholars, the legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal each occupied a stone platform. Later, Du Xiaofu chased away the famed scholars, the devil religion chased away a group of Yao beasts, and Du Xiaofu destroyed the dragons, the legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal. So now, many stone platforms were empty. As for the school of Yinyang, the school of Taoism, the school of Confucianism, the school of Buddhism, the school of agriculture, and the Phoenix clan, they were all watching from the sidelines. They approached the stone platforms, but they didn't actually set foot on them. Rumor had it that if they could seize a stone platform, they would have the upper hand. Naturally, they wouldn't be polite. Many powerful beast clans began to compete. They were all Yao clans of the beast region. There were huge, heavenly serpents and demon eagles that covered the sky with their wings. Demonic energy filled the sky. There were also huge lightning elephants that rampaged like mountains. There were also Taigu goldbiter rats. Let's fight. After that, the school of Inyang, the school of agriculture, the school of agriculture, and the Phoenix clan also began to compete. Roar. Bang. 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 The battle was intense. The roars of the beasts were like thunder, dazzling the eyes. Continuous sonic booms rang out. But in the end, after the school of Inyang's Chijiajun, the school of agriculture, and the others began to compete, the 10-directional stone platforms were officially claimed. The Desolate Nation, the Devil Religion, Lin Qingrong, the Fire Cloud Evil God, the Green-Robed Youth, and the Hell-Eyed Black-Robed Youth. Naturally, no one dared to provoke them. The school of Moism, the school of agriculture, the school of Buddhism, the school of Taoism, and the school of Inyang each fought for the remaining stone platforms. Of the 10 stone platforms, 9 were already claimed. The Phoenix clan and the school of Confucianism were still fighting over the last one. Huang Ling, and Kong Sansi were fighting one-on-one. Du Xiaofu was sizing them up. This was the first time he'd seen Huang Ling fight. The woman and Phoenix battle attracted everyone's attention. When Kong Sansi finally revealed his lesser sovereign nirvana identity and true self nirvana cultivation base, Huang Linger also revealed her lesser sovereign nirvana identity and true self nirvana cultivation base. The battle between the sorcery force of the Confucian school and the Phoenix race was undoubtedly the most intense battle since the battles between the Desolate Nation, the Dragons, and the school of vertical and horizontal. After a few hundred moves, the two of them were still unable to determine a victor. Kong Sansi had already transformed into a giant hundreds of meters tall, like an ancient sorcerer who had traveled through time and space. The sorcerer's body emitted a misty mist, like millions of mountains descending from the sky, making people feel like their hearts were about to explode and go limp. The power of the sorcerer god is truly extraordinary. This was Du Xiaofu's second time seeing the sorcerer's power of the Confucian school, and he was still amazed by it. This sorcerer's power was extremely strange. My Confucian school will not fight for the stone platform. Peace is the most important thing. Kong Sansi's giant body, which was surrounded by the sorcerer's power, swept his gaze across the Phoenix race's lineup. Zixuan was also there, and he seemed to be a little afraid of the beautiful woman who had been standing beside Zixuan and Huang Linger. After his voice fell, he withdrew his sorcerer's power and stopped fighting. Huang Linger withdrew her body, smiled, and stepped onto the last stone platform. That woman seems to have not used her full strength yet. She's getting more and more terrifying. Guqin Demon stood beside Du Xiaofu. He was not in a hurry to adjust his breathing. He was instinctively afraid of Huang Linger. Back in the Heavenly Beast tomb, he was chased by Huang Linger all over the place. Kong Sansi should also have some trump cards, but he's smart. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. He could see that Huang Linger had not used her full strength yet, but Kong Sansi should also have a trump card. If these two wanted to determine the winner, they would only know at the end. However, Kong Sansi knew in his heart that the Phoenix race still had little sovereign Zixuan, who was at the Nirvana true self realm. The Phoenix race also had a beautiful woman who was definitely very strong. On the other hand, although the disciples of the Confucian school were not weak, and they were all extraordinary and outstanding, there was no one who could compete with Zixuan and that beautiful woman. Therefore, Kong Sansi had already realized that the Confucian school would not be able to win if they continued to fight. Instead of being defeated in the end, it was better to retreat first and leave to fight for the supreme tomb. The Confucian school retreated a little dejectedly. They were also very helpless in the face of the Phoenix race. Kong Sansi, do you want to come up and join us? Du Xiaofu looked at Kong Sansi with a faint smile. The gloomy Kong Sansi raised his head, looked at Du Xiaofu, and grinned. His Confucian robes fluttered as he laughed. Perfect. Deference is no substitute for obedience. As soon as he finished speaking, Kong Sansi acted as if they were familiar with each other. He bluntly led the Confucian disciples onto the stone platform. Although the stone platforms were vast, the Desolate Nation, the Profound Talisman Sect, the Profound Underworld Sect, the Beast Region, the Ghost Chariot King, the Phantom Tiger King, the Star Swallower King, the Savage Bear King, and many other Yao beasts were also present. Now, with the addition of the Confucian school, it immediately became a little crowded. However, it was still all right. It wasn't too crowded. The Confucian school disciples didn't act arrogantly in front of the desolate nation disciples. After witnessing the desolate nation's ferocious killing intent and terrifying strength, they knew what to expect. They all nodded slightly. The atmosphere was quite pleasant. Jiangxin, do you want to come up? Du Xiaofu asked, gazing at Jiangxin from afar. No need. Jiangxin shook his head and stood there quietly. The side of his face was so perfect and broad that some of the women around him couldn't help but steal a few more glances at him. The 10 stone platforms already had owners. The most dejected of all were the School of Famers. Originally, the School of Famers wanted to fight for a spot, but in the end, when they looked at the 10 stone platforms and sized them up, they couldn't seem to find a single worthy opponent. All they could do was stand off to the side, depressed. Time slowly passed. People continued to arrive from all over the plaza. However, there weren't many of them. They were scattered here and there. After sizing up the plaza, they stood off in the distance, not daring to get too close. However, as soon as they appeared, they charged straight for the center of the plaza. Who dares block the path of the dragons? Scram. Those who oppose the path of the legalism will die. Who dares block the path of the school of vertical and horizontal? Scattered throughout the god domain, a few disciples of the dragons, the school of legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal hurried to the plaza. They gathered together in large groups, looking down on the living creatures outside the plaza. They were extremely domineering and arrogant. When they saw the disciples of the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the school of legalism loftily approaching, the living creatures around them secretly sneered and automatically made way for them. Kill. The final result was as expected. The disciples of the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the school of legalism were not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the desolate country. They killed every single one of them that appeared. They didn't even know how they died. Phew. The next day, in the center of the plaza, many figures of the school of Yin-Yang, the school of Moism, and the school of agriculture woke up. Their eyes shone brightly, and their auras surged vigorously. They had all obtained some benefits. This is a little strange. Some of the elders woke up. They discovered something special. In the god domain, they felt that the suppression had lessened by a lot. Some of the elders who had surpassed the initial domain of the martial domain realm realized that their true strength was no longer suppressed. There were some signs of it loosening, but it wasn't completely loosening. This change made some of the elders who discovered some clues feel that it was strange. The Chunhuang mainland was silent for no reason. According to the news from inside, the Supreme Tomb seems to be opening soon. This is the last time God's domain space will open. I wonder if the greatest opportunity will appear. What is the greatest opportunity, and who will obtain it? They were even more nervous than the people in the divine domain. Everything in the divine domain was related to the destiny of all the major powers and clans. It was said that the greatest destiny could be obtained by the disciples of their clans and clans. If the disciples of their clans and clans could obtain it, they would be able to influence the destiny of their clans and clans for tens of thousands of years. On the towering mountain peak, the people of the school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and the dragons gathered together. Their faces were extremely gloomy. There isn't much time left. We must find a way to get rid of that father and son. Otherwise, the school of vertical and horizontal, dragons, and legalism will be a huge problem. Gong Sun Yin transmitted her voice to Li Chenfa, Qin Tianshi, and Long Tongue's ears, Li Chenfa, Qin Tianshi, that father and son are the scourge left behind by your legalism. You have to bear the main responsibility.